Good morning and welcome to our January 24th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome all of you that are here in person, and then also everyone the millions that are watching at home, welcome. This morning we have a couple of wonderful, exciting treats for you. We're going to start it off with an invocation by Reverend Patricia McGregor from St. Mary's Episcopal Church. And Reverend, I understand that you would like to say a few words prior to the invocation, so please come forward. Welcome, we're so happy to have you. And then when you're done, we have a couple other exciting things, so good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. We have a great experience coming here to Martin County. We have a cross-cultural musical exchange from people coming from Mauritius and Madagascar. And they will be specifically here at St. Mary's on the 17th and 18th of March. And so you're welcome to come. It's a musical about a woman who's caught in trafficking, prostitution, and how she gets into the community and realizes that life is a time to dance. So that's the 17th and 18th.
What time would that be?
And that's a 7:30 performance on the 17th and a 2 p.m. matinee on the 18th. And it was also taken to South Africa at the invitation of Desmond Tutu. So several years ago.
Where is your church located?
On Ocean, right, almost downtown.
So in front of the hospital?
Yes, in front of the hospital. Thank you so much. And all are welcome. You can buy tickets online and
Buy tickets online at what?
at St. Mary's Episcopal Church, and then you can find some tickets online.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, thank
If we'd all please stand for the invocation.
I'd like to begin the prayer with a quote from Charles Spurgeon. "Faith goes up the stairs that love has built and looks out the window that hope has opened." Let us pray. Creator of the universe, thank you for your love. Thank you that you are with us and for us, and that you offer us good, abundant life to help one another and the community in which we live. As we trust you, please guide us, guard us, and protect us. As the Martin County Board of Commissioners engages in efforts to benefit this community, show them your will. May we walk in your ways, guided by your truth. Please remind us that in you we have everything we need. Don't let the impact of the world shatter our thinking or draw us away from focusing on what really matters. Please keep our minds concentrated on your guidance. May your love be central to our thinking. Give us perspective of life from your point of view, and help us to view circumstances with your thoughts and actions. Help us to love and care for one another, as that is your call for us here on earth. We depend upon you to give us grace and humility so that we can make a difference in society and the community in which we reside. Thank you for your life, for peace in all situations, the joy for the gift of using our time and talents as we reach out to one another, and most of all, for your love, the greatest gift we can give one another. We pray this in God's almighty name. Amen.
So if you could please be seated just for a moment. A tradition started by my colleague, Commissioner Hetherington, was to have a member of our community that has served in the armed forces come and do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I thought that was such a terrific idea that I would also like to carry that on this year as well. And we are honored this morning to have Felix Moros to come. But first, he's going to give us a little bit of his background, his illustrious career, and then he will lead us in the pledge. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for having me here. So a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Okeechobee County. 2006, I graduated high school there. Went to Indian River State College at that time. 2008, I finished my 2-year degree. I had the opportunity to either continue and go into criminal justice, or from there go into military. I decided to go into military. I was 21 years old. I had a real big sense and urge to serve this, country and community. From there, I had enlisted in a United States Ranger contract. Upon completion of that contract, I would be labeled a United States Army Ranger. So it consisted of basic training in September 2008, basic infantry school. After the completion and graduation of that, I went to airborne school, and then at that time, Ranger Indoctrination Program. 4-week course, very hard, strenuous, 50% failure rate. I don't know how I made it, but I did. Graduated, I was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, 1st Platoon, Charlie Company, 3rd Ranger Battalion, 75th Ranger Infantry, which is the United States Army Special Operations leg of our military. From there, I deployed 3 times overseas in combat to Afghanistan. Came back, and we just continuously trained, deployed, multiple schools, fun schools, some not so fun, sleeping in the woods, training, getting wet, but that's what we do as military guys. From there, I ended up leaving the military in January 2013, went back to school, finished my bachelor's degree, and then I had the opportunity to get hired here in Martin County Sheriff's Office in 2015. Been here for 7 years. To be truthful, it's exciting. The job's exciting. The people of the community are great. I cannot step out of my car without people shaking my hand, and it's really appreciated. But I thank you guys for having me here. And that's about it. That sums it up.
That's an illustrious career for a young guy. Thank you for your service to the country, and then you came back and still had the desire to serve us as a community, so we support you and salute you. Now, if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing, I am thrilled. Twice in the last several weeks, I've had the opportunity to hear our next treat, our next presenter, performer, perform the national anthem, and I asked if she would come this morning and honor all of us with it as well. This is Captain Jennifer Perkins. She will sing the national anthem.
Proudly we hail, yeah, the twilight.
to do one more? It's up to you. I've heard her sing this next one, so you'll be happy that she is willing to bless us with one more. Maybe,
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, through the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the light with the light from above. From the mountains, through the prairies, through the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies, through the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Captain Perkins, thank you so much. I think everyone would agree I did not oversell that. Her talent is God-given, and we're so appreciative that you would do that. Thank you very much. I mean, I don't know how we continue the meeting after that. We sort of set the bar very high.
The other problem you've done is know anybody who follows. Good luck.
So imagine, so we had both the pledge and the national anthem from two members of our Martin County Sheriff's Office, and there's a couple other men and women here. What remarkable talents, and they're our residents, so I'm so appreciative. Thank you. Okay, back to the business of the meeting. We have a couple of additional items. We have consent agenda number 11, adopt a proclamation declaring 211 Awareness Month in Martin County, Florida. Consent agenda number 12, adopt a proclamation declaring Engineers Week in Martin County, Florida. Departmental number 6, a Wojciak, I keep saying Wojciak Park update, and I think we're going to take that, and it's at the end of the agenda, I believe I'll be bringing that forward. There are no consent polls, and
Move approval of the agenda and consent.
thank you.
Second.
We have a motion to accept the agenda as presented by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We also now have a proclamation to present. It's been previously approved. It will be presented this morning by Ms. Laura Beaupre. Ms. Beaupre, you are recognized. Good morning.
Oh, I have to go first after that?
Yes.
That's a
And I-
lot.
and I would also like you to
I'm
s-
not going to sing.
I would like you to sing it.
I will not be doing that. We have a proclamation today declaring January 20th, 2023 as Arbor Day in Martin County, Florida. The Garden Club of Stewart has tirelessly encouraged the planting of trees and advocated for their care, so we may pass on an enduring heritage of this natural resource to future generations. In honor of Arbor Day, January 20th, 2023, the board expresses its appreciation to the Garden Club of Stewart for spreading awareness of this day and for ongoing events that continue to enhance and beautify our community. And here to accept, we have Rosita Aristoff, who's the first vice president of the Garden Club of Stewart. Bring the plant for the picture. May as well. Oh, yes, turn it around. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, and I cannot sing either. I am Rosita Aristoff, President-elect of the Garden Club of Stewart. For more than 85 years, the Garden Club of Stewart has been actively involved with the planting, upkeep, and preservation of trees. Our early tree-related projects included planting trees at the all entrances to Stewart, in the median of US 1, in Memorial Park, and along Ocean Boulevard, to name a few. Our related activities continue today at the Audubon property on Hibiscus Street, at House of Refuge, at Hospice on Indian Street, and most recently with the newly planted Southern Magnolia tree at Indian River State College. Through the Penny Pines program, we also provide funding directed to the reforestation of Osceola National Forest in Northeast Florida. Throughout the state and across the nation, our affiliated garden clubs of the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs and the National Garden Clubs promote Arbor Day by informing the public of the necessity and value of conserving this elemental natural resource. On behalf of the Garden Club of Stewart, I thank the Commission for recognizing us with this proclamation. And our plant that Chairman Champi will take home is called Myrsianthes fragrans, commonly known as Simpson stopper. It's one of the most beautiful and ornamental woody plants native to Florida. It can be grown as a small shrub or a small-sized tree. It can be pruned to any shape. It's salt-tolerant, grows in partial shade to full sun, and is drought-tolerant once established. It blooms in April with white fragrant flowers and produces orange-red berries, which attracts pollinators. So I think we can all agree that the Simpson stopper is a gem to be treasured. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're now going to have our public comments. Now, I did receive a few public comments for Wojo Park. I'm going to save those for the agenda item. This is general public comment first. How it works, if you're not familiar, you'll have 3 minutes to address us collectively as a board. At the 2-minute and 45-second point, you'll hear a tone. That doesn't mean stop, it just means that you have 15 seconds to wrap up your comments. And we will start this morning with Mr. Tom Pine. Mr. Pine, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I've been a resident of Martin County for nearly 50 years. Once again, the consent agenda where millions and millions of tax dollars are spent in darkness. This meeting, $11,416,159 was spent between December 27th, 2022 and January 9th, 2023 without identifying the payees or the purpose of the payments. Once again, I was recently asked, who do I work for? Who do I work for? I answered, I'm retired. No. When you speak at county commission meetings, who do you work for? Well, I don't work for anyone. I speak for those of us that live in Martin County that work around the median income or less, which was around $67,000 in 2021, according to FRED, Economic Data St. Louis Fed. We have 5 county commissioners. 3 are millionaires, 1 lives on a trust fund, and 1 has too much baggage to address at this time. Our county commissioners spend our tax dollars like we have incomes like them. We don't. Our county commissioner habits are why more and more Martin County residents go to bed hungry every night, and it adds to the growing pressure of more homelessness. This not only affects children, but many of our senior citizens that live on fixed incomes. That's why I find it appalling the amount of local tax dollars spent on mooring fields in Martin County over the past few years. I ask once again, why is it the taxpayers' responsibility to pay for mooring fields when only one group of taxpayers benefits from mooring fields, and that's the business community, the Chamber of Commerce? That's sad. This past week, I attended a youth dialogue day at the new Chamber of Commerce building in downtown Jensen Beach. Originally, it opened on September of 2010 as the Jensen Beach Community Center at a cost to we the taxpayers of $1.5 million. Sometime over the past year or so, Martin County Commissioners approved, hidden in the consent agenda, a special deal for the buddies in the Chamber of Commerce to use the building as their own. Details are unknown because it was hidden in the consent agenda. But a sweetheart deal with the Palm City Chamber of Commerce, where they rented about 500 office space for $10 a month with another 10-year option. It might be a good comparison. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's our last general request to speak form. Does anyone else like to address us? I have your sheet. That's an agenda item. We're going to take them.
Apparently not.
No, apparently not. I just assumed it was a mother and daughter comments. Our next request to speak form is Jackie Thurlow-Lippisch with the South Florida Water Management District.
Great interview on the news last night. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I am here. I'm Jackie Thurlow-Lippisch. I live in the town of Sewell's Point, grew up here in Martin County. It's wonderful to see all of you, honorable commissioners and chair. I am absolutely here to support my mother and Mr. Knight Kiplinger, but since I'm wearing my South Florida Water Management District attire, I think I should stick to South Florida Water Management business. I wanted to come here originally, your last meeting, and just wish you a Happy New Year. So I wish everybody a happy new year, and I'm looking forward to 2023. There was a lot of good news right off the bat, as all of you know, with Governor DeSantis's executive order, which is 2306, on top of the executive order from the previous 4 years. And all I can ask the public, I'm sure you already have, is to read this executive order. There is a lot of funding coming through continually for Everglades restoration, and for our area, for Indian River Lagoon South. These are exciting times. The National Academies of Science booklet came out. They say, I mean, it's really great. You look at the chart and it like shows before and then it shows recently. It's like way up here. I mean, hopefully we can keep it going. It's very exciting, and you've been such a supporter of that. Unfortunately, right off the bat, too, we're discharging from Lake Okeechobee. I wanted to address that, of course, and nothing makes me sadder than that. But at the same time, I must say I support that decision. And the South Florida Water Management supports that decision as what is basically a HAB deviation. The district and the Army Corps are expecting a lot of algae in the lake this summer because of the Hurricane Ian that made our lake, the Lake Okeechobee, rise up 4 feet. And historically, that's what happens. And so it's better to take your medicine now than to take it in the summer when it is really bad water. We've got to be very careful, and Congressman Brian Mast talked about this in his statement, that we don't get so fresh that if they do have to keep dumping this summer, that we're in a situation like we were in 2016 or 2013 or 2018, but it's really 2016. So I will be keeping an eye on that. I appreciate all of you so much. These are exciting times, and thank you for supporting my mother.
Glad to have you as our representative. That is officially our last general public comment. We're going to take 2 agenda items out of order, if my colleagues are okay with that. The first one will be, I think it's faster than the 2 of them, is Mr. Stokas. If you could bring, we're going to switch it. If George, are you making this presentation? I can. Okay. It's going to be departmental item number 3. Oh, here he is. Allocation of America Rescue Plan Act dollars to clerk and comptroller to digitize of historical resources project. It'll be presented by the 2 of you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. George Stoke, Assistant County Administrator. This is an item that was brought back from your discussion during the budget earlier last year. We had the Community Partner Relief Program. We closed that program after it being open for over a year on September 30th. At that time, this body had directed staff to look at what funding could be used to digitize the clerk's historical records. So we are here before you to recommend reallocating $510,000 to the clerk to allow her to digitize her historical records. And that is my presentation.
Okay. Ms. Salas, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think it's the other agenda item that has the ARPA funds reallocated for the library. It's right after the.
Departmental number 4?
Move approval of Department 3.
Second.
Okay.
It's,
Commissioner Heatherington.
I'm in support. I had a question. When you say reallocate, what were they originally allocated for?
Those funds were originally allocated for the Community Partner Relief Program, which was to assist not-for-profits that qualified under the American Rescue Plan Act for loss of funding or revenue during COVID. We had, I think, 3 applicants, only 1 qualified. It was open for over a year, and we decided to close that. And then, based on the board's direction, we brought forward this program. So it's just a transfer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Annie. You're going to be speaking, Ms. Thurlow, on the next item, correct? See, it threw me off when it says historical. I just immediately, as soon as I hear the word historical, I just assumed it was you for that item. I apologize. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner you?
Smith, I think.
Oh, Commissioner Smith, I apologize, for staff's recommendation of approval. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That was departmental number 3. Departmental number 4, reallocation of America Rescue Plan Act dollars from Gateway to Arts Program to Digitization Program, project.
Yes, Mr. Chair, sorry for the confusion. So this is an item that that's requesting to reallocate money that was originally intended for the Gateway of the Arts program that would have been located in Golden Gate. Staff has been unable to find a property suitable and within a price range that was allocated for this program. Also, we've been made aware most recently that the House of Hope has kind of taken on some of this type of program, both at their Indiantown and a little bit in their Golden Gate location. So we thought it might be a little bit of a duplication of efforts. But since we've been unable to find a property and enact this program, it was brought to our attention that there is a need for the digitization of historical records that are not necessarily governmental, but have historic importance for the county. We spoke briefly to the folks at the Martin County Historical Society, the Elliott Museum, and some other partners. And what staff is requesting is that you reallocate, and I'm going to just go down to the spreadsheet here, that you reallocate $400,000 to the library digitization program, which Ms. Salas is here. She can go into further depth if you need it. And then also take $224,600 and expand the ebook expansion. And this will allow staff to expend these funds within the deadline of 2024, which is less than 12 months away, and also serve the community that the ARPA funds were intended for. And with that, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Salas, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I think this is just a really great project that is going to lead up to the centennial celebration of Martin County, so the timing is right for it. We did have a meeting at the Blake Library in October to gather all of the historical organizations and community members, and there was a great turnout. There were about 35 different individuals representing different organizations in Martin County, and there's a lot of interest and excitement about this project.
Thank you. Someone sent us an email that was very detailed and had a lot of tremendous information. So whoever, was that you? Was that someone in your department?
No, actually, I think it was probably one of the members from the meeting.
It was fantastic. It really laid out exactly what we needed to do, and that if we don't do it, this information could be lost forever. So with that, I'd bring it back to the board. Oh, excuse me. We have two of our most well-known Martin County residents that would like to address us on this topic. We will start with Miss Sandra Thurlow. Jackie's mom.
I'm so unused to this, but I know there's just a short time I'm supposed to speak, and I usually just talk off the cuff, but I've written something down, so I'm going to try to read it. We know Martin County is special, right? Settlers did not arrive here until the 1880s, but are created in 1925. Martin County is not yet 100 years old. It is small and not overly populated as yet. We have a window of opportunity. The Historical Society of Martin County was established in 1955. 25 years later, its director supervised the collection and edited a comprehensive history of the county. It was a tremendous gift, but it will be 50 years old when Martin County celebrates its centennial in 2025. Stewart Heritage was founded in 1988 and started collecting history with the Historical Society's blessing. Jensen Beach has a small historical museum. East Stewart Historical Society was created in 1990, but it didn't survive. Now we have the Black Heritage Initiative. None of these has a trained librarian or archivist. Greg and Alice Luckhart transcribed thousands of newspaper articles and wrote hundreds of long, well-researched historical vignettes, and you know we just lost Alice. My husband and I compiled and self-published the 6 local history books that are filled with photographs. The Stewart News was blessed with 3 editors that were historians in their own right: Ernest Lyons, Tom Weber, and here I went in wrong order. I wanted to start out with Edwin Menninger, Ernest Lyons and Tom Weber. Huge historical editions were published through the years. We're really sitting pretty, as they say, but all of this can be lost if we don't see that everything that has been collected is preserved and shared in a modern, professional way. We live in a digital age where research is done online, and our historical photographs, interviews, documents need to be preserved and shared via technology. Trained experts are needed. Martin County needs to step up to the plate and do its part. With the leadership of trained archivists and librarians, Martin County can be Florida's poster child for good historical stewardship. And you know how we like to be the poster child for the state. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Knight Kiplinger. Sir, welcome. Good morning.
I'm Knight Kiplinger. I've been a part-time resident of this county for 70 years, since 1952 on Sewell's Point. It's a pleasure to be here. I am not going to repeat the excellent points my colleague Sandra Thurlow just made. Her career as the history lady in Martin County is a treasure on the Treasure Coast, and I feel honored to have supported and encouraged Sandy's work going back 30 years to her first book about Sewell's Point, followed by remarkable histories of Stuart, Jensen Beach, the House of Refuge, and others. Martin County is joining in this initiative an exciting national and indeed global trend of making scattered, diverse, out-of-sync formats of archival material available to anybody with a computer terminal any place in the world, obviating their going to a physical space, a library, to search through different scattered files to find what they need. Our materials are scattered today, as Sandy said, all over the county, private collections, the Lockharts, the Thurlows, businesses, real estate offices, chambers of commerce, and of course in your own county archives. The history of our county has been written by many wise and energetic people, starting with Janet Hutchinson at the Historical Society of Martin County, Greg and Alice Lockhart, the Thurlow family, Rick and Donna Crary with wonderful stories in Indian River Magazine. And this project is not about writing history, it's about helping those who will be writing our future history find what they need. And in years past, searching archives required that, that you do keyword search, tag articles and documents with subjects that some human being suggested. Today, with optical character recognition, the computers can find any proper name, any word in any document posted, even scanned into a PDF. And that's what this project is all about. The library system is the perfect agent to execute this project because of the professionalism of the library science industry today going digital. My grandfather played a role in the 1950s in helping the Women's Club of Stuart establish our first library system. He donated land on East Ocean Boulevard for the Women's Club and for the first county library. And our family is proud to continue this tradition of support for the library system. I commend all of you for this initiative. It puts you right into the forefront of an exciting project throughout the world today. And thank you for your efforts on this behalf.
Thank you, sir, very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address us on this topic? It'll come back to the board. Let me just say, Mr. Kiplinger, that it's interesting that you mentioned your grandfather helped us start the first library, and how fitting that you would be the one of the leaders in taking us to the digital age. The information that I read on this is that if we don't get started, it'll just become a much more difficult task as we move forward, you know, especially with the passing of Alice Lockhart. Our historians, you know, people that are interested in this history, it can't be lost. Obviously, it's irretrievable. So I'm completely in favor of this, and I appreciate It's not something that most people are thinking about, that it's a void and necessary. So for you all to think about it and bring it forward to us, I appreciate it very much. Colleagues, Commissioner Smith.
All of that, as well as our remarkable staff. When Jen said we had 35 people, our staff had laid out, I wasn't expecting it. It was the organizational structure of how to approach this project was fantastic, Jen. And I left there really amazed that you and your staff had put all that thought into it. Not that you wouldn't. It's so much more than even what we've talked about this morning in terms of the complexity of it all. Sandy's one of her other kids was there, and he brought up some just really interesting insight into how you search, how you look, what technology do you use, because there's multiple platforms doing this stuff, and it's how do you figure out and navigate the right platform. It's kind of like when you had Beta and you had VCR, which one was going to win in the platform. So anyway, kudos to our staff, kudos to our community that is supporting this, and with that, I would move approval of the item.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, right in under the wire. I still use the Betamax. It's still technology. Nothing wrong with the Betamax. It's harder to find the tapes, but with that said, we have a motion to accept staff's recommendation by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we're also now going to take departmental item number 6, Wojciech Park update. It'll be presented by the Kevins. Gentlemen, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Kevin Abate, Parks and Recreation Director.
Who's with you?
Irwin, Deputy Director of Martin County Parks and Recreation Department.
All right. At the request of the commission, we are bringing back an item to talk about Wojciech Park. And so what I wanted to just briefly talk about our master plan goal, which the board adopted in 2016. And our number one goal since 2016 has been to maintain and improve our parks facilities. And that's been our charge ever since. And Wojciech Park is one of our next big efforts of our 72 parks that we're focused on right now. For the public's sake, Wojciech Park is an 11.5 acre county park with an amazing shade canopy that we're going to preserve. It's located in the Port Salerno Community Redevelopment Area. There's 5 baseball, t-ball fields, batting cages, 1 playground, 6 racquetball courts, a tennis court, a futsal court, which is small-sided soccer, 1 basketball court, a few picnic tables, restroom, concession stand, park maintenance building, and paved parking. There are no dedicated grass soccer fields or open space for soccer, but it is highly utilized for soccer. The park is located on the eastern portion of the park. The Boys and Girls Club is. And we're also right next to the Martin County Public School, Port Salerno Elementary. Some of the things that we've done over the past few years, in 2021, we repainted the restrooms, the racquetball courts, and the maintenance building. We resurfaced the courts in 2019, the tennis courts, and we actually converted one of the tennis courts to small-sided soccer called futsal. And in 2017, we replaced some netting for baseball fields 1 and 3, and then in 2014, we completely replaced the playground. At Wojciech Park, we spend approximately $140,000 each year of ad valorem. We have a dedicated full-time employee who takes care of the park's grounds and maintenance. We also have contracted custodial for our restrooms, and we also, the $140,000 includes the cost of materials, utilities, and equipment. So when we first talked about using the permissible use of ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan dollars, we started that conversation with our Parks Advisory Board in November 18th of 21, and subsequently back in January of 2022, just last year. We met, we discussed the uses of the criteria for ARPA funds, and through my discussions with Mr. Stokas prior to these meetings, we thought, as being the Parks administrators, that Wojciech Park was the right park, and it qualified most in the county. We had initially thought that we were going to have our ARPA dollars used at several different county parks, but it was the most qualified. It's in the qualified census tract where it meets the criteria, and for us, it made the most sense for us, and it was that, and that has been supported by this board on February of last year in 2022, finally approving the $1.7 million of American Rescue Plan dollars just for Wojciech Park. So since that time, our department, in April of 21st of last year, we collected and compiled community and user group input focus on their wants and needs with an online open survey. And we had a great event called Make Wojo Wonderful, and that was a great event. We had another public meeting. The department attended and presented the input collection efforts to the Port Salerno Neighborhood Advisory Committee as a part of our Northern Outreach effort. And then in August of last year, we contracted Hoyle and Tanner and Associates to start the process of gathering data for Wojciech Park, topographical surveys, designs, complete construction documents, permits, providing bidding assistance, and to perform contract administration for the renovation of Wojciech Park. That's what Hoyle and Tanner is supposed to do. But from September, after we contracted them, to December, they have conducted their topo surveys, boundary surveys. They reviewed the community surveys, compiled data. They've created some conceptual plans that we've looked at, which we're going to present to the community. It's not going to be January. It's going to be in February. I'll tell you the date in a few minutes. And they've researched the required needed permits for this big renovation of $1.7 million. So we plan on February the 2nd of probably announcing it. Well, I'll announce it now. February 2nd, we'll have another Make Wojo Wonderful experience where the members of the community can get together and see and unveil those plans and be a big part of it. Because what we like to do is, the next step is go into some design development, put this thing out to bid, get the construction dollars encumbered, which are available, and then start our construction as soon as that's complete. So overall, for Wojciech Park, those are the efforts that we've taken on in the past year and the processes that we've taken on to just give you an update on where we stand today.
Thank you. Questions for staff before we go to public comments? Seeing none, we have 3 requests to speak forms. We will start with Mr. Kenneth Knight.
Mr. Chair, can I just add one thing about American
Certainly.
Rescue Plan?
You are recognized.
Thank you very much. I think it's just important to note that the initial American Rescue Plan Act does not include park space. So when staff did the initial recommendation to this board, it wasn't allowable under ARPA. It wasn't until the second or third version of the American Rescue Plan Act that we were able to put in Wojciech. So I just wanted to point out, that's why there's a delay between the plan that Parks had and the original staff vetting of ARPA. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Knight, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Commissioners, my name's Kenneth Knight. I'm a local business owner, also a volunteer at Wojo Field for approximately 10 years. I've coached youth baseball. Now my oldest is 14 in senior league. She's one heck of a catcher. So I was brought from the board to kind of express some concerns. And we've heard a lot of conversation today about historical sites, beautification of items in Martin County, which I'm very happy to hear about. I would like to include Wojo in that with things that have gone on and not have gone on at that park. I do understand that there is a dedicated employee from the Parks and Recreation, Mike, super nice guy. He spends approximately 3 hours a day at that park. I know other times he is going to places like Anderson Middle School and things of that nature, keeping up with whatever agreement that the county has with the school board to maintain those baseball fields. But I will tell you that these fields, especially with the condition they've been in, it's a tough situation. And I think whenever you're involved in a youth athletic program, to facilitate a positive experience for our youth, and which we should all be very invested in, giving them the atmosphere and encouraging to be positive influence in our community. And that happens just by simple things with fences. You know, these things you can probably get tetanus from. I've invested a lot of my own money into this park by doing simple things, by repairing batting cages, cleaning gum up off the sidewalk, you know, fixing, you know, scoreboards in the past when needed. So, I mean, these are things that have not been taken care of. But we've got to be good stewards of our community and promote, you know, a good atmosphere for our youth so they do ultimately become productive citizens in our community. So investing in this park and keeping up on it is got to be key and not forgotten. And I really do feel that this park has been neglected and forgotten. So with that said, that's it.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Appreciate it. Our next request to speak for is Jake Neves? Neves? Neves. Jake Neves, welcome. Appreciate you taking time off from work to come in and see us.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, board. And I agree with everything that Mr. Knight had to say. Preseason of last year, a new board was formed to try and save the league. My job as equipment manager was to take inventory and assess the equipment. I found that the scoreboards were not working and the frames were rotten. Our main scoreboard was not functioning, and we had to get in touch with the manufacturer and found that 2 of the computer boards and drivers in the scoreboard were bad. And needed, and on a very tight budget, had to spend $572 to make it operational. On September 20th, while our teams were using the batting cages, a ball ricocheted off the support and struck a coach in the eye. Luckily, this wasn't a child. Upon investigating the incident, we found the AC insulation was used as padding, which isn't sufficient. We contacted Andrew Pearson of Safety from Parks and set up a meeting. On September 19th, Leanna and I met with Andy after going over this situation. Mr. Pearson gave us 2 options: shut down the batting cages or pay for it ourselves, as Parks did not have it in their budget. We did, however, come to an agreement that if we would buy the pool noodles, that we could install them at a $550 cost to us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And rounding out the group of public comment is Miss Leanna Greer. Miss, good morning, welcome.
So is this a public comment 3-minute thing, or do I?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We'll pick it up from there.
Okay. So I just want to begin by saying that there is individuals within our Parks Department that have been extremely empathetic and supportive to getting us recognized and assisting us on doing what is possible in their specific role inside the Parks Department. So David Gladding, Mike over at Wojciech, they're extremely kind, and they do help us as much as possible. But with that being said, we do feel that we have exhausted all of the options. We've performed the chain of command that has been designed by the county to progress, and it's just been one roadblock after another. And I find it difficult to view the park and view other parks and actually be able to believe or agree that it has been maintained in any form of similarity to other county parks. It's just difficult to actually wrap your head around when you see the difference and the dramatic impact that it's had, and other parks don't even come close. And I just feel like we have been fighting so long to get to that point. I'd also like to mention that, you know, the FARB agreement that was made back in 2000 and I believe 16 was actually noted by Mike Lynch in the meeting that it was going to be utilized for older parks to modernize and update to take care of backlog parks issues at our county parks, but it was used at Citrus, Halipatioke, Langford, J.V. Reed, Doc Myers, every park but Wojciech, and it's the oldest park. So if it was an allocated fund and it was brought before the commissioners with that intent, it was never utilized in that way. It was actually used in a very different way. So if it was actually committed to that, it should never have reached this 5 to 6 years later. As far as the ARP grant goes, I'm glad that we have it. I really am. I just don't think that Wojo, and we don't think, and the community doesn't think, that their tax-paying dollars shouldn't also be supportive in this agreement. It shouldn't be isolated to only when grant money has been made available. They did submit 2 different parks for approval, and Wojciech was voted in at their meeting, and that's wonderful. And we're not denying that that's not a great thing to have, but it isn't going to be the limit. It's going to be a starting point. And we need to revisit this year's budget to be able to decide what we can do with that budget so that Wojciech can get its care and updates that it desperately needs, and the community can finally see their tax-paying dollars back in their own neighborhood. And that's really important to everyone right now. So that's kind of where we're at, and we're hoping that we can reach some kind of conclusion today and begin promptly making these corrections. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address us before we begin our conversation? Seeing none, we'll start with Commissioner Hurd. I believe this is in your district, correct?
It is in my district, and if you haven't been to Wojciech Park, it is a wonderful park. It's beautiful. It's probably underutilized. It's in a very, very compact urban neighborhood. Many of the residents there, most of the residents there rely upon walking to and from Port Salerno Elementary and to Wojciech Park. So it needs to serve the needs of the community in which it's located. And for that, I'm extremely grateful for the attention and the grant money that's being used to renovate and upgrade Wojciech Park so that it's a wonderful asset and amenity that is particularly well utilized by the people who live there. So this is a marvelous beginning, and I'm very, very grateful to support the project. So I will move approval.
Thank you.
Second for discussion.
Commissioner Smith. That's just an update. There's nothing to approve.
So Kevin's, is the 1.7 and whatever other funds that are being allocated adequate to do what needs to get done?
We don't know yet. We're going, once we get through this final meeting in February, on the 2nd, because it really depends on what the output and the outcome of the community is. So if we are going to add more soccer fields or we are tearing something down, it really depends. So once we have the final program, then the Hoyle Tanner will have to give us a probable cost of construction before we put out the bid. And at that time, we'll make decisions on if we need more funding to do more things, So any of the items that are discussed, fencing, baseball fields, anything in the park, this funding is used for that. So we don't know exactly how we're going to prioritize them until we find out what exactly the community wants.
Okay. So that'll happen in February. You'll get results back in March, maybe?
Well, Hoyle Tanner is they're going to conduct the meeting for us. So our focus is, it'll be at the Boys and Girls Club. We'll have an open community meeting, kind of like a charrette, if you will, on the drawing paper where you get to kind of say, these are our priorities. And then we'll get down to design development. Once we know we're going to do X, Y, or Z, and nothing's been determined. We've seen some conceptual plans, and Kevin and I have talked over the past month about, look, let's the community decide what they need. What is it they need? I mean, obviously, we know that in our master plan that walking is the number one thing, trails in any park system. So, so that'll be one of the priorities there. That was in the early surveys. So we want to make sure that we're hearing the community at large on what's the highest and best use of this park when we put $1.7 million into it.
And so I guess part of the idea of the question is that, so Hoyle Tanner will be doing their work in February, early, right? a month or so, 3 weeks to respond to the data that they collect and give you back some kind of a status update picture, I guess, if you will. Do they plan on pulling people back together once they've done their analysis with kind of a sketch of here's what we heard you say, here's what we heard you ask for, here's how we see that programmatic component fitting the 11 acres?
We can. We can certainly do, we can bring it back to our Parks Board to say these are the final concepts, if you will, and then start. What I don't want to do is go into design development without everyone on board.
Well, and so typically in the charrette process, you do that. You gather the community input, the experts go away, they do their fitting, if you will, and then you bring it back and confirm with the community, this is what we heard you say, this is what the data said, is now that it's on a piece of paper, is this what you thought it was going to be from what we said? And then that's that kind of confirmation in the process of input, output, and so on. And then from there, let's say Hoyle Tanner gets it right, from what they heard. And there's a drawing and a conceptual something, right? And let's say there's a number attached to that. That's X amount of $100,000, million, whatever. What would be ideal is to have that done prior to April, because April's budget time. And if there's a shortage, if there's a deficiency in their plan, what the community wanted to do, we could then deal with that at budget time and deal accordingly if we need to. That's all that conversation was really about, was just to say, in a timeline for us and budget, that might make the most sense.
Yeah. I mean, certainly Hoyle Tanner has done a lot of surveying, so they know what's under the ground, meaning what we can and can't do, where we can expand the park or not relative to, wetland areas or areas that we just can't go left or right. So I think that having a conceptual plan after the February 2nd meeting that we bring back to the community, or maybe two, or with, a couple of different choices, and then make some final decisions so we can get into some construction cost and then start designing.
So at the end of the day, for me anyway, and maybe for the rest of the board, it would be helpful to have that, if Hoyle can do it, by April.
I believe they can. They know that they've been engaged since contractually since August. They've done a lot. Of course, you had 2 hurricanes and holidays, right? So we lost a little time. But they're back on board and they're ready to go. They're coming down here on the 2nd. The Boys and Girls Club has confirmed the property, and I think we're going to be in a good position.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Heatherington?
Okay, a couple things, especially from a commissioner. I'm really happy to see the ARPA funds going to this park, particularly since I have a couple parks in my district too that are eligible, and some of the funds have been used. But I did have a chance to, it had been many years since I had gone to Wojciech Park as a native of Martin County, but I did have a chance and was invited out this weekend to their clinics and the trials, and on Saturday morning was able to walk around and tour the fields, and there was a lot happening with the clinics. And so there's a couple things I see. A, I think it's fantastic that you're going through this design process and this, the money's been allocated. But the things that I saw while I was at the field, I think are things that need to be done immediately based on safety. And that was some of the fencing that had some holes in it and the netting that was separated. My kids have played, both boys had played Little League, and I wouldn't want to have them playing or be a parent sitting in on the bleachers with the holes there, and in the clay. And I did go from that park, and I went to Justin Wilson Park, and of course I walked around Memorial Park, which is the city of Stuart. I didn't go out to Citrus, and it's been a while. The clay, I think that, they deserve some fresh clay on those fields for the new season. And then the fencing, I saw, again, the design and the development and the new things at the park are great through this ARPA process. But the things that I saw that need immediate attention are the fencing, the clay, and some of the batting cages. Of course, I think somebody mentioned there's a woeful difference between what you see at some of the new modern batting cages. I don't know where that came in with some of these, maintenance, but I think that some of those basic things need to be done as soon as possible just for the safety of the kids. And we want the kids to keep playing because, studies show, and somebody said they went to the youth dialogue, the more these kids play sports, the more they stay out of trouble and continue with their education. And then I have one more question too. The track that is next door to the field, is that the schools, Port Salerno?
Yes, ma'am.
So they maintain it, because they do tend to keep the gate open, it looked like, and you can access it.
Yes, it's school board property, and they maintain it. There's no interlocal agreement with Port Salerno.
Okay, so solely it's at the discretion of the school board. Okay, well, those are my thoughts. Again, safety, and those basic things now, and I support the procedure that you have going with ARPA.
Commissioner Jenkins.
So I don't want this to be taken as me diminishing the enthusiasm of WOJO. But I do want to remind everybody that the department head that took the biggest whipping in our last budget is sitting before us right now. So with that said, we struggle, obviously. And there is many other parks that may be portrayed as all good and dandy, that they're not. I mean, my park in Doc Myers Park, irrigation and returf of the soccer field. I mean, half the soccer is dirt, right? We need fencing to keep the soccer balls off Dixie Highway. These are things that are needed for, a lot of it is safety. JV Reed, we've been asking for shade over the bleachers for, I don't know, as long as I can remember. Timer Powers Park, $1 million, I heard the number of putting bleachers in, that would actually have a return on investment. I mean, each one of our parks is in need of, and again, we struggle through budget every year. And I just want to come to Kevin's defense a little bit. And I did take a tour of WOJO. It is absolutely gorgeous with those trees. It really is. And yes, there's definitely some things that need to be taken care of immediately. I get it. I support it. But there's also, in other areas of the county's needs and wants, and we all have to make a certain amount of dollars, squeeze it into a box. So it's a challenge. So thanks.
Mr. Jenkins, to that point, we have 72 county parks. Our fixed asset replacement budget is $1.6 million. It's really hard. We find when we take our fixed asset dollars to the Parks Board every year, we still have $6 million, and we move them down to priority threes, because the priority ones we try to get done. And it's only a handful of projects. We leave $500,000 in contingency for the just-in-case motor that goes down for $100,000, or all these things that just come our way in the course of a year. So, and our budget's been flat at best from a fixed asset replacement. We haven't asked for any increases, but we have a good amount of money to make a lot of progress. But it's hard to say, do you want to put $500,000 in to replace fences? We did it at Hal Patioki because the fences were in such poor condition. We did it a few years ago. It was expensive, but that park was all revenue based. They were falling apart, and the Hal Patioki is going on 20 years. So these decisions we take before our Parks Board every year to lay up our fixed asset replacement budget, and we try to prioritize it for them to help them understand where we are. And then, of course, it ultimately comes back to the board to see if you'll fund it. And so we're mindful of last year's budget, on the dais, getting our budget cut. But we just do the best that we can with what we're giving. I think we do a great job in terms of the overall maintenance of 72 county parks and beaches, but it's not easy.
And let me finish my thought that I think the taxpayer in Martin County measures their return on their tax money investment by public safety and by amenities, and parks being a huge part of that. And that's something we need to consider when we're sitting down and doing our budget, which I fully intend to be an advocate for. and that would be the last word.
You're yielding back the time?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Jenkins, I agree wholeheartedly. And to the residents that came before 2 weeks ago and this morning, thank you. Parks advocacy is a great thing. We kind of go through like little spikes and valleys between where we'll hear and we won't hear for a long time. But it's always great when the community comes out in support of our parks. There have been years that we have really focused and put a tremendous amount of energy into that process. And we have an amazing parks department. Probably our parks department doesn't get enough credit for the 72 parks that they maintain and they continually work on. But Commissioner Jenkins, I agree. If you were to put sort of things in silos of importance, our parks are probably the most widely used facilities in our county by far, in all age groups, from little kids to senior adults. So hopefully we can get it right and get it better. Thank you.
Mr. Donaldson.
It was just simply a reminder that that March-April timeframe is when we review our CIP. So if there's any additional request or increase in that for any facility, whether it's Wojciech or others, you'll have an opportunity to review those. And of course, we anticipate a number of projects that will be presented to you that will remain unfunded.
Thank you. Is it my turn? I will tell you, as the biggest downside, at least for me being chair, is you speak last. Everyone else gets to go first. So comments that I would want to make have been made by other people, or the conversation gets, sidetracked. My first question, and I wrote them down so I can be concise. My first question is to you, Mr. Stokas. The 1.7 million, is that available now?
Yes, that's cash sitting in an account.
That's a great answer for my next question. With that in mind, I also had the opportunity as an invitation from the Maverick League and a lot of, I want to be careful that it's not just a conversation with the league. There were plenty of local residents that were there, where there plenty of neighbors walked from their homes to meet me there this Saturday. To be honest, I've been to the Boys and Girls Club there. I've been to the elementary school. I've seen that park, but I never walked it with the critical eye that I did this weekend with the folks that invited me to come out. I'd also say that we get a lot done based on comments that we hear from citizens, on letters of support that we hear from citizens. So the five of us know that we're not just hearing from a select few, that it's a broad-based appeal. And I thought they did an excellent job. When you can have the family members of the namesake of the park contacting us, I think that's, to me at least, speaks volumes. I'm going to go through these points. The most important thing I can say at this time, based on what I've heard this morning, is, I like the concept of new features, but what I have on my mind and what I heard mostly from the residents was repairs and maintenance. I mean, if there are new features that a consulting board will charrette and do all of that, that's not the conversation that I had on Saturday. And I will agree and start off by saying, Kevin Kerwin is newer, but he has a lot of parks history in his bio. But Kevin Abate has been here for a long time and has had a lot of tremendous, real successes. And he's getting pulled by at least the five of us, and we're all trying to cajole him and pull him and his department in different directions to get our district parks done. That being said, I've had strong success in District 5 with some of our facilities. I've also used hundreds of thousands of dollars of my district funds to quote-unquote put my money, at least the district's money, where the mouth is. So, and I know that each of us in districts have different funding and stuff like that, so I'm not getting into that. But that 1.7 million, I'm not a consultant, but I can tell you right off the bat what I think needs to be done. And what I would request is, I'm just going to mention them. But just like Mr. Abate, just like we did at Justin Wilson when we walked with their advocates, And you were with me, and I really appreciate that. And we've done it at Citrus, and we've done it at Timer Powers, and I guess everyone tries to do that. We've done it at Charlie Layton, and we've done it at Jock Layton, is to speak to the people that are there every single day and find out exactly what their priorities are. So for me, it's not a matter of consulting or charrettes or anything that you'd want to do in the future. For me, I believe that the fences are as dangerous at Wojo as they are anywhere. I specifically went up and touched most of them. They are completely, not every bit of it, and I know that there's been sections that have been replaced already, but a majority of it, especially in the dugouts, are completely rusted through. And a lot of holes, and where at the bottom where it meets the ground, they curl up. Or at the top, there was a couple of backstops that were not as high as they are in other areas. And as a layperson walking around, I wouldn't notice. But from people that are there 5 nights a week, most of the year, I've seen them. I actually took a tremendous amount of photographs so that I wouldn't forget, and I will forward them to you in your department. So for me, it's fence repair, if not nearly all of it, at least big sections where the kids are directly there. Backstops that are not tall enough, or they have a meshing, like the netting that goes over some of them, at the very least, needs to be replaced. I remember putting up, it might have even been before your time, Mr. Abate, at Jock Layton Park. The scoreboard was dead for years. It might have been right as you started, right? That was a big project. You know, people think, how much could a scoreboard cost? It was probably $30,000. I used district funds to pay for it. Their scoreboards are horrific, absolutely horrific. And I know that the league is using their very short funds from fundraising and other things that could obviously go into scholarships or uniforms or training, used to pay scoreboard software, which is probably unnecessary. That to me is one of those things that once they are done, that return is there for years, if not decades. Water fountains. There's one, 11-acre park is a gorgeous, gigantic park. One set of water fountains. So if you're playing with your kids on the far side, closer to the elementary school, there's no water fountains anywhere near you, or bathrooms. And you know, I remember when, this is definitely before you were here, during the 2008-9 recession, and when we closed all of the park restrooms as an effort to save some money. The parks were still open, but we closed the restrooms. And at the time, my children, who were now almost done with college, were children playing, you know, after-school sports and league sports, and especially with girls, if they say, Daddy, I have to go to the bathroom, there's no taking them off the field, putting them in the car, and bringing them to Publix or home. So bathrooms, now I get, we just did a bathroom at Charlie Layton Park. It's beautiful. It's very expensive. But that has to be on the list. But if we're prioritizing the list, it needs to be on it, but it might not be in the top 5. Benches, a lot of the benches that are there are beaten down so that they angle, so to sit on them, you would probably fall off. You know, they're such on an angle, like where one of the legs is bent over, so the bench, I mean, not only is that dangerous to me, it looks so terrible that that level of maintenance would happen. Sunshades. In Florida, that is a safety issue for me. We have beautiful sunshades. You guys have done remarkable work on sunshades. I don't think that that's super expensive. I know that they get engineered and they're hurricane, but that's got to be on the list. The batting cages, the interesting thing about batting cages is that obviously they get a tremendous amount of use, so they get beat up. We had bad batting cages at Justin Wilson Park, and you were very helpful in helping us figure out how to correct things. I went there. The concept of using pool noodles, multicolored pool noodles, is an embarrassment for us as Parks and Rec. At the high level that we operate Parks and Rec, that the families would put pool noodles. And most of them, I agree, they were those, you know, pipe insulators, like gray pipe insulators that were zip tied on. They're all busted up. That shouldn't be the league family's responsibilities to do that. That's not expensive. I'm sure we have access to a better version of some kind of padding. The dugout improvements, I mentioned already. Their roofs, remember at Justin Wilson, those roofs were really in bad shape. And we had a dad of one of the leagues speak about, he owns a roofing company, and he was willing to participate. So I think we also need to have a policy change possibly, that if they are able to rally, let's say at Wojo, Casco Construction or a roofing contractor, because that's a hard-working, middle-class neighborhood that surrounds it. If one of those companies was saying, look, I'll put these new, or at least retro, the roofs of the dugout, we should allow that and welcome it, because less money out of your pocket. And then if there's a liability issue, maybe legal needs to discuss that, but I thought that was important. Signage, even as simple as signs that say you're not allowed to walk your dog on a baseball field and let them go to the bathroom on the field and then leave it there. So when the parents go to ask, hey, you can't be letting your dogs run around on our baseball field, and the people fight back, and we know how this works, and there are some signs, but they're not everywhere. If someone says, it doesn't say I can't bring my dog on here, at least give those families a fighting chance to say, get off the fields. There were bullpens, and they showed me one that was adjacent, parallel to one of the fields. You know, railroad tied, had the pitcher's mound, had a couple of home bases. That is something so that when you got kids out playing on the field, that you have the rest of it where different coaches could be doing different portions of the evening. That's relatively inexpensive. We saw a mountain of the clay fenced in there. So even if that's something that your team could do, or we would allow them to redo it, that's an easy one. Sidewalks, I saw that they were all pressure washed. Some of them, there was such a good job, I thought they were brand new. But there is a couple of missing links, like there always are, missing links of sidewalk. And to your point about allowing people to sort of walk around, we did it at Palm City Place, where you can walk around the entire stormwater retention pond, and I already see tons of people doing that. There was some turf issues, just like at Justin, that you helped us correct there. So I know that's in your wheelhouse. And I know that there was a vision of retrofitting a couple of the handball courts. They have 6 handball courts, which is probably the most anywhere in the county, but I don't know how many people are still playing handball. I bet there's a need for a couple of them, but maybe 1 or 2 of them could be retroed at a reasonable expense into storage. Because I remember even at Anderson Middle School, that league contacting some of us to say that they were in a tug of war with you guys on who owned the storage, who could use the storage, should they buy their own storage. There's no way that parent volunteers can be bringing all of this equipment back and forth. And most of the time, if not all of the time, that equipment is purchased by the leagues. So at the very least, we could give them a place to store it. I toured what they did have as storage and their meeting spaces. There's a couple of like sheds or trailers or something. I don't even think they were trailers. They are so beaten down. As soon as they open the door of where they have their meetings, the stench and the hit of mold was so strong, I didn't even want to go in it. So, and then lighting. We obviously have the Musco contract, which is fantastic throughout the entire county, including Wojo. But there has to be some downlighting options. I saw a couple of them, because some of these, you know, especially in a community park, like I find that the parks in Palm City, you're either going there or you're not, because they're sort of tucked up by the Palm City Bridge or over on the other side. This park is so beautiful, and I was jealous of Commissioner Hurd to have an 11-acre park smack dab in the middle of the neighborhood. The Boys and Girls Club can use it, the school district can use it, you guys are doing a terrific job using it, but the neighbors are just, one guy was racing remote control cars, and somebody else was there with their kids, and it had a great vibe. The shade trees, remarkable. But I think that from a safety point of view, especially as the lights go off at night and some of these volunteers or these kids and their parents are hanging around a little bit and it goes pitch black, if we could just work on some of those lights that could be on, they're small, everything's LED these days, so I thought that was appropriate. And I want to be careful to say that this is not just about the baseball league, the Little League there. It's about all of the parks. That futsal, whatever that is, I've never even seen that before. When you had your agenda item and I read it, I didn't even know what that meant. But that neighborhood, that constituent group that lives in that neighborhood, that's absolutely what they want. What I would see is an additional one. And look, I'm giving you this information for free. You don't even have to pay me for this. I think where those storage, the meeting facility and the storage there is a large enough area that you could probably, now that's probably on your longer wish list, the extra one. But if you're really trying to maximize the use of the constituents that would want to be there, you could probably have 3 of those. Because when we were there was a group of people waiting for that group to finish. And it's not like a ping pong game where you're going to play for 10 minutes. If you're playing futsal, it's a whole game. One of the things that I really was envious of was that there was such community pride there that they all spoke of the lack of vandalism at Wojo Park, which in Palm City, tragically, is a big issue for us, where people, most likely locals, kids that are, don't even get me started, misguided, destroy our own facilities. They haven't had that. We walked the bathrooms were perfect. They were maintained, like physically, long-term maintenance-wise, they look perfectly fine. The partitions, the sinks, the hand dryers, and cleanliness, it was very clean. We need to take that level of maintenance and cleanliness from the bathrooms and spread it around to the rest of the park. 2 more minutes. Boat ramps, when we talked about funding, 2-ish more minutes. When we talked about funding a while ago, the community came forward and said the boat ramps were in big trouble. Sandsprit, up in Jensen, Palm City, and we laid out a strategy. There was not a big budget for repairing all of the boat ramps, but we found the money, and we pushed the money in your direction. When I say we, I mean you found the money, and we approved it, and you laid out a strategy because that was an urgent need for the boating community, and we put it on you, and you figured out how to do it. Justin Wilson Park was the model that I'd like to see us use for Wojo. That group, with your assistance, and again, the people that on your team that sort of do the everyday maintenance there, we made a wish list, and it took a while. Some things were immediate, you handled immediately, and some things took a little bit longer, and you handled it, and then some things were bigger and more expensive, and you handled it. So it's not my district, but I told the folks that toured us, it's not Stacy's district or Doug's district or Harold's district either, but we all support Sarah in her effort to make this happen for these people. This is the second time that they've been here. I know that Parks and Rec Advisory Board is supposed to be in the mix with all this, but I also heard that the October meeting or the fall meeting at the last minute was canceled. And I was happy that you guys were going to have the opportunity to meet last week with the Parks and Rec so we could hear what they wanted to say at this meeting, but that was also canceled on the day of the meeting. So we don't have the advantage now of knowing what Parks and Rec, and I want to respect those volunteers that do that, but some of these things don't have to go back through them. I mean, if we sent you 2 back into the office and said, come back at the end of the meeting, you'd have it figured out. If we have $1.7 million right now available, I think the best use of that money is for these maintenance and repair issues. If you want to build some kind of fancy something or other into the future, I never heard anybody ask for that, but if that's the case, then fine. And I wanted to thank the folks that came last week, Leanna and the rest, and then emailed us and then invited. They did exactly what they should do. They engaged all of the commissioners. They invited us to come down there and see exactly what was going on. They had people write letters. They had businesses that put up their own money. And I think every park needs to have that outspoken advocate and a strong advocate for every user. They have that. The track next door. It doesn't even look like that elementary school is using it. Now, if you remember what we did at Palm City Elementary School, they had a playground, was underutilized, the original Wildcat playground, and it was beat up. It was 35 years old. It had thousands and thousands of kids use it for 30 years. And what we did as a community at the school level, my kids were there at the time, is they put up as much money as the district would allow. It would not have allowed that playground to be rebuilt to the level that it was. It's similar to the Jensen Beach playground. The school district says, we're trying to make all of the school playgrounds unified so everybody has the exact same one. Well, that's different. We don't have a track. We didn't have other things at Palm City Elementary. So what I did is we entered in, and I think Miss Woods, actually, at the time when she was not the county attorney but worked in the office, helped craft an interlocal agreement that is now a community and school district park. I think that that's an underutilized resource. It's gigantic. Now, I don't know if it needs to be a running track, but we have enough friends at the school district that they probably would be glad to share it. We do it at Hidden Oaks Middle School with the basketball courts. I think we should enter into an agreement where that can come back to us. The center of it could be a multipurpose soccer field or lacrosse or football or whatever. And then also, if we had access to it, there's a lot of parking, overflow parking that we could use anywhere in the county. I think it could also be a dog park, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, because it's a really great, large, fenced-in area that's just sitting there like no one's using it. And that's it. So I don't know what motion Commissioner Hurd you were looking to make. I would just offer up a suggestion of a motion, is that we ask Parks and Rec to coordinate with the constituents of the Wojo Park to utilize immediately the $1.7 million that can go into the list of maintenance and repairs, most of which are safety or health concerns. Some of them are just amenities. And I would love to see that as a motion, so that we can send these folks off today that are probably missing work and say that the five of us are actually ready, with you leading the charge, doing this right now, right away. It is Wojo's turn. Commissioner Hetherington.
That was my question. I think George had answered it, that could the 1.7 million be utilized immediately to start some of the things that we know need to be done, like the fencing and some of the other things that Commissioner Campy outlined, the basic safety, scoreboard, fencing, and the clay. Could that be utilized immediately?
Yes, you could utilize it immediately, and it's ARPA eligible.
And if so, I would make a motion that we start that process, and then, the design process would, the Hoyle and Tanner process would still go forward. And then the deck, I don't know who builds it, but somewhere that's going to have to be maintained. I don't know if that's a high priority, but the little sitting wooden deck, it sounds like somebody else built it originally, but then the parks has to maintain it, but that probably is going to have to take consideration somewhere.
Yeah, we're fortunate if some private entity decided to build an amenity at our park, the least we could do is maintain it. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, my reservation about the motion's intent is that this is intended to be an improvement, which is going to include some redesign things. And I don't want to, if we're going to be redesigning some facets of the park, I don't want to be putting new fencing up where it's no longer going to be utilized. So I think that the park is going to look different. So I don't want to spend $500,000 on some infrastructure improvements that we're just going to take down because we're going to redesign some facets of the park. Because there are things that need to be changed. We've mentioned that there are some fields, there are some courts, there are some things that probably are no longer well utilized, so they're going to change. And we need to make sure that we put these maintenance dollars in the right place.
I hear you. Having been there this Saturday, I would tell you that the things that I saw don't need to be replaced where they are. The park has a pretty good flow. We walk the entire thing, all the way from the playground and the basketball courts to the rest of it. The couple of things that we're talking about, I don't think, because then you're into millions of dollars. And that, I like what I heard from my colleague, Commissioner Jenkins, that, and I completely agree. Public safety is the first dollar of tax dollars. And for most people, their interface with the government is parks and beaches. Next, you're number 2 on the list behind the sheriff and fire rescue. In my mind, most people want that. I also think it sends a beautiful message if we talk about Martin County being a special place. When people, other leagues come from down in Jupiter or from St. Lucie County and they're playing, soccer, football, lacrosse, baseball, softball. We want to show our community in the best light. Wojo and others that are on your list don't. I mean, I've been elsewhere within a very short, just south of here, just west of here, and just north of here. The fields are gorgeous. And we're a family community. This is what we pride ourselves on. I think we need to strategize where if you only have $1 million+ for FARB, that needs to be addressed. Commissioner Smith, you were next.
Just trying to take everything from what you said, what Sarah said. I think what was important, what Kevin shared with us in his presentation, is that there has been an ongoing collective neighborhood process of getting information as to what the neighborhood wants, not what we want it to be up here, what right? I mean, the community input you're getting
Correct.
is what they want.
Correct.
And so I'm cautious about, like Sarah's saying, I'm cautious about diving in, and I appreciate the idea that things need to get fixed. There's an immediacy to certain things that are safety. If there's a condition out there that is, for the next 6 months, is a safety issue, then sure, take whatever funds need to be taken, fix those things. Even if that safety issue gets removed a year from now or 8 months from now in a bigger project, fix those things that are an imminent health, safety, welfare sort of a thing. But like Sarah said, if the community is desirous of fixing, realigning, changing the content of what's out there, and that's going to mean some fairly dramatic changes, I'd hate to see us spend more than we need to on a safety level on something that we're going to rip out in 8 months or so in a bigger project. And so to the extent that those things align, great. And I listened to everything everybody said, and they're all important, but you guys are the experts and the strategy behind that. And then what's really driving it, which to me is still the most important thing, is the community. If the community says we want to do this, this, and this, and that falls within some kind of budgetary program, great. If we need another bathroom out there, fantastic. Where does it go? They'll decide that. That'll make the most sense. If we need 3 more bubblers out there, they'll decide that. And then the experts will figure out, okay, from a strategic layout of this thing, where do we have services, where is there water and sewer, and that kind of stuff. And so, anyway, I have confidence with all the input that you've gotten from us that you guys will do the right thing.
Commissioner Hetherington.
Okay, I agree with what I just heard. Is there any, having gone out there, though, and seen it this weekend, whoops, that's my line.
Time's up.
That's it. I understand you're going through this vision process. Is there any intent to move or remove any of the baseball fields? Because there's certainly, 1.7 is not going to be enough, but is there any intent to move or remove fields?
I don't know. So here's what just the 1.7 million, just so it's clear, $234,000 of that is in the contract design for the design development project, the entire process. That's what it cost. So want to make sure that up front that's the contract that was signed last year in August to take us through the entire process. And it's probably pretty common in terms of percentage for a capital project of this size. One of the things that we do for all of our county parks is TRICO comes in, our insurance company, and they do safety inspections. I'll make sure that off the bat after this meeting that we get another inspection right away from a risk management standpoint to at least look at what's really out there now that's unsafe in the eyes of our insurance carrier. That's important to me. So we'll make sure they take, I know they just did it recently, we'll make sure they take another look at it. And we'll make sure that they do that immediately. So, and then we can get into, because on February the 2nd, they had some initial ideas, but I want to build what's best for the community. And I agree, if fences need to be replaced where we know we're not going to ever remove or renovate a field, I don't want to put good money after bad. I think that's what I heard. We don't want to replace a $500,000 fence if the ball field's going to shift some other direction, for example. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just think that we're going through the process so we can understand, it's next week, to understand what the community's top priorities are. Safety issues we'll address right now. If there are true safety issues out there, we'll use our reserve funding that's unallocated, and we'll take care of it. I don't have to go to the Parks Board for that. We'll take care of it, and we'll get it done. We'll do that 100%. But we've gone through this process through 5 or 6 public meetings. We'll continue it next week, see where we wind up, and then ultimately figure out what the community wants. But those safety issues we can do. Water fountains, benches, all those things. Those are easy. Those things are easy to do. I think that what we have to figure out is 1.7 million minus $234,000. We're really looking at 1.5-ish, right? So I think, as Don said, for the CIP meeting in April, that process coming up, we're going to have a better idea if we need to throw more money at this. And then we'll look at our priorities for the department. I agree, it's Wojciech's time. That's why I asked Mr. Stokas to put it there and brought it to the board and the Parks Board, because it's time. We know it's time. I 100% agree with that. That's our focus. If we need more money and 1.5 is not going to do it and we need 2 million, then it's 2 million. But it is time. I've heard the community. I've read the emails. I think it's a great project. I think whatever we do, a lot of people are talking, we're listening, and we're going to do something special for the community at the end of the day. How it's done and the time that it's done and the safety stuff we'll do right now. I think the process of going through the February 2nd meeting is super important to get the feedback from the entire community. Baseball, I'm a baseball player. I paid for my college. I love baseball. But there's a lot of other parts of this park that also need attention as well that I think we need to take care of.
Okay, thank you. I want to circle back on some of that. I want to be careful. The intent of the motion, I hope the motion maker was thinking of, is I don't want to hide behind the safety issue. I don't want TRICO to go out there and say, we'll patch this fence. We're not looking, I personally am not looking for patchwork and for stopgap Band-Aids. I think that the batting cage will not, obviously it is a safety issue, but putting pads on the rails and leaving the rest of the AstroTurf to be just totally deteriorated. If TRICO says, well, that's not a safety issue, it's still an issue. I mean, if I have to go out there every week, I think what I saw, and I will send you the photographs, I probably took 50 of them, was an embarrassment. And the park, these are not things that deteriorated in the last couple of years. These are things that deteriorated in the last couple of decades. And I read some of the emails, and I know in my heart that my colleagues and I don't think that it was because it is a lower working class neighborhood versus a Palm City neighborhood. So if anyone feels that that's the case, we need to prove that that's not the case. And if there is a grand vision of pavilions and terrific amenities, which you are experts at doing, and we all benefit from them, that's not what I'm hearing. And I was clear, the first thing I said was that this was not just a baseball family conversation. My daughter works for the Boys and Girls Club across the walkway there. I've been to that Boys and Girls Club. I've been to some of those local churches. We all have. I mean, it's right around the corner from Commissioner Hetherington's district. I think some of these things need to be done. I thought we were headed in the right direction. Some of the comments that I just heard here at the end look like we're going to put it off. We're going to throw some money around. We're going to we're going to quiet these people down a little bit. I want the Kevin Abate treatment on this for what, it's not my park. I mean, if we need to allocate, and I think I mentioned it last time, if we need to allocate our funding differently from different districts, I want Wojo, based on what I saw there, based on the potential that it could have. Now, Commissioner Hurd talked about I agree. I hate when we pave a street and then we come afterwards and tear it up, and we don't do that. But I hate that concept. So I don't want to spend any money that afterwards a bulldozer is pulling down. The list of requests, whether they're safety-driven or just appropriate, should not be bulldozed over afterwards. I'm disappointed that we've already spent nearly $300,000 to talk about what we might do. That being said, we still have $1.2 million. Any of us, if you were doing it in your own backyard, $1.2 million will handle a tremendous amount of the things that we're talking about. I liked that the folks that were asking me for things were not asking for anything that was dramatic. Commissioner Smith, you're exactly right. Bathrooms are expensive. That's a conversation in February or April when we sit down with the CIP sheets and say, where do we need to do these bathrooms? District 5, I want to be careful not to say mine, because they're not mine, but District 5's restroom facilities, you've done an excellent job with. And I want that exact same thing for Wojo. Secondary bathrooms, even when I was speaking to the folks, I said, look, some of these things are a little grander. Not that they shouldn't get them. I'm talking about right now stuff. And it's not just patch the fence so a ball doesn't come through and hit somebody in the face. It's let's make these people feel like the community. The baseball folks are a small portion of the access and use of that park. But the rest of the people that live in that community that didn't have the opportunity to come out and send emails and everything else, when you're going there at that meeting on, in the beginning of February, the 2nd, to have that meeting, some of the community will come out, some won't, but this group was advocating for that community. They were talking about the playground and the basketball courts and the restrooms as much as they were talking about, actually, the baseball fields. I said to them, the condition of the fields, and whoever is out there, your person who's out there doing maintenance, they spoke very highly of him, and I thought they looked very good. It's all of the rest of it, which is a neighborhood issue. That futsal, the handball, the other walking areas. I just think that we need to make a decision. We need to send these people home with the right interest today. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, once again, my top priority for this park is that it serves the needs of its neighbors. The people who live there walk to the park, they walk to school. It's a very compact community. Let's make sure that their needs are met and that we redesign a park with them in mind. And I'm sure that there need to be, lots of infrastructure improvements in order to make it safer, but it also just needs to be a park that serves the neighborhood.
I agree with you. Commissioner Smith. Thank you. Commissioner Hetherington, you want to wrap it up for us?
I agree with all the comments. I do think some of these things need to be done immediately. So with that, the fencing, just some of that safety things have to be done. So whether it be with the charrette, and I think someone mentioned it, for a couple $100,000, I spent a couple hours out there on Saturday morning, and I think you can definitely gauge if you were there, once or twice a week, what the community wants and needs. And number one, I think some of these safety things have to be addressed. So I'm going to maintain my motion that the fencing be done, some of these safety considerations be done immediately.
I noticed that there isn't a recommendation. Do you need a motion?
Well, this was just a presentation to tell you where we were in the process. So if we're going to change direction for the public charrette meetings as planned, we don't really need a motion to do those things. We're going to make them a priority. We will meet with the community, the stakeholders next week, and talk about the things that are a priority and get those things taken care of.
I'm simply asking the board to give direction to staff that the safety things are taken care of immediately, and then you continue with the charrette and design process.
I agree with that. Mr. Stokas?
I'm going to use a pun. I'd like to take a swing, and let's see if I missed the ball here. But the board did just approve $224,600 to go to ebooks, and that was to kind of round the figure for the Gateway to the Arts program, but seeing the need and the necessity and concern, perhaps the board would like to rescind that priority in that books and maybe put $100,000 towards this park. I'm just putting that out there.
I appreciate that, but I don't think that's necessary. You got 1.2 million. You told us right off the first question I asked you, is it available? You said yes. Leave the ebooks alone. You have money in the bank ready to do some of these changes. And if you have bigger into the future changes, like Commissioner Hurd said, that I think what we're talking about benefits the whole community. I think that park is laid out wonderfully. I don't know what else you could potentially put out there that's not just gilding the lily. If you just cleaned up, it was whoever designed it did a beautiful job. I don't know what else other than like a futsal or whatever, but you already have one. Maybe some pickleball. Everyone loves pickleball, but I mean, that's all extras. We got 100 lights on now. Commissioner Hurd.
Well, Mr. Abate said that he has undesignated reserves that that are available for doing the safety improvements that need to be made. We don't need to be taking away money from the ebooks. I'm perfectly confident.
That was a swing and a miss, Mr.
That
Stokas.
the Kevins have money to make the improvements that are necessary.
I think
You're the Kevins now.
inferred. That's kind of what you inferred, right? Without really saying it, because Kevin offered it up.
Nothing about ebooks, but.
No,
Which, by the way, some of that money came from my district anyways, the ebooks. So I just want to make sure that you leave with clear direction that whether you take it from the 1.7, that those safety considerations are taken care of immediately and not deferred to this design process. Because the fields are probably going to remain, and I think some lighting, are some safety items which staff can evaluate and certainly has done a fabulous job. But I just want to make sure you have clear direction and emotion or whatever you need to move forward today.
And I agree with that.
Do you have a second on that?
No, are you?
I'll second that.
There you go. Thank you. We have a second. Mr. Donaldson?
So not to belabor the conversation.
And don't do that.
Please.
But the point of the conversations has been about doing the repairs that have been identified, and I think staff is clearly prepared to do the repairs that were safety. I think there's a difference between a repair and a complete rehabilitation. So I've heard a couple of conversations that I want to make sure that we meet your expectations. So if the expectation is that repairing one section of fence is not your desire, that to take out and replace the entire fence because it's at the end of its life and just replacing the one severely damaged section is not going to meet your criteria, then that's, I think, the direction we need to hear from you, is that you want those items that are repaired, that they are completely rehabilitated. If it's satisfactory that we can do repair as we continue the charrette process and move down, then I believe that's the direction that we're taking. So I just want to
Okay.
make sure that I understand that staff's direction is clear.
Right. I appreciate that. But Commissioner Smith, we're actually, if this was a horse, it would be well beaten by now. That being said, and I don't advocate for animal cruelty. I'll get emails on that now. What I'm trying to say here is that just like we did at Justin Wilson, they came up, the users, and I believe it could be the neighborhood folks, but you're going to have to go door to door to get the neighborhood folks to tell you what they want. Let's address the obvious issues. You're a baseball guy. Do the same walk with the group that some of them are sitting behind you and handle those issues. If they want, they can submit a list. You can review that list. I'd like to see it. Just like you sent me the Justin Wilson list. And we all knew exactly, to Mr. Donaldson's point, we knew exactly what we were accomplishing there. So when I went back out and I spoke to those folks out there, I said, the list. Mr. Abate and his team handled the list. And you know what they said? Yes, they did. I want to hear the same thing from Wojo. I don't want to just repair a section of fence and we slap each other on the back and said, we did it. I want to make sure that the residents understand this is not government speak where they left saying, what happened? I like what Commissioner Hetherington said. Some of it is safety. Some of it's just practical maintenance that will enhance the lives of the people that use the park. That's what I'm looking for. We have a motion. Commissioner Smith, you're the last word before the vote.
Would it be?
Puts his light on, I got it.
Would it be possible, helpful, and I don't want to engender like another half hour of this, but with everything that you've heard, everything that's been said, and you're going to have on February 2nd input from the community, would it be helpful to come back to the board and say, here's our plan? This is what we're planning on doing?
I think.
Because that way, from what Mr. Donaldson said, the expectations are what we think versus what you heard.
I think I'm pretty clear on the idea of complete, if you're going to rehab, if you're going to spend $100,000 and replace patchwork of fence and 125 gets the entire thing done, I'm going to spend the 125. We have a contingency in our fixed asset replacement budget that is completely appropriate to replace these items. We will use those dollars. We'll leave the ARPA dollars to the side, still go to our session, see what other things come out of that. But we can take care of this stuff on the more immediate term. I don't think that's an issue at all.
To me, we're voting. I think that what needs to be handled out there is pretty obvious. It's not a secret mystery. They're pretty basic. We have a motion by Commissioner Hetherington. If you have questions, come back. But I mean, I think by the time you meet us again 2 weeks from now, you could get started on some of that stuff with your in-house team. We have a motion by Commissioner Hetherington, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes, before you get up, gentlemen, Commissioner Hetherington.
Totally aside, and I had heard this comment from someone else, and then I heard it recently. Are we charging for entrance to our skate parks in Martin County?
No, we have an annual skate park pass. It's $20 a year. We've had it for over a decade. It's just a fee that the county has collected for signing the waiver, compliance with the paying for the staff over at Ryle Skate Park. So what we've done in the past.
So if I were to, now I used to utilize skate parks all the times with my children. So if I were to show up right now with my children, I could use the skate park?
Well, if you're at any of the skate parks for Palm City area, most of them are not staffed. Mainly initially, the program was started for the Ryle Skate Park, which was highly used. And was the only skate park. It was the only skate park that was staffed, and to this day it's staffed. So the idea during the recession and even before was the idea you collect this skate pass, you go to Ryle Skate Park, Pat Mark Ryle Skate Park, and those funds were used as a part of a way to pay for the staff members there now. And subsequently, since then, we've now are starting to staff all the skate parks because of the issues that you have when they're unstaffed.
So if I were to take my kids, which is what we use, Palm City Skate Park over by, I guess it's Layton Park, do you need a pass? And can you enter that park within reasonable hours anytime?
You should be able to, yes.
No. I got a lot of emails from people that were at that park that were turned away with their families because they did not either pay or have the permits. I met a guy out there. I remember we used to have all these issues about putting some supervision out there, especially in Palm City. I 100% don't think that's appropriate. That you should charge people to use the skate park, that they should have to have an annual pass. That's not, they already paid for the park. They already paid with their tax dollars. If I have to use district funds, I do not want that in any District 5 park where people get turned away with their children. It happened to be a former City of Stuart commissioner who texted me and said, this cannot be true. I had no idea that we were charging people to use that. I will use district funds. I want that policy, at least if I have to make a motion, I don't want that to be a policy. It was very frustrating for the families and for me that we would do that. We'll start with Ms. Woods.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Sarah Woods, Martin County Attorney, for the record. I'm not speaking to the charging, but from a standpoint of the utilization of the skate parks, we we have done a risk assessment, and we do need the waivers. So if a parent just showed up and they didn't sign the waivers, I believe under TRICO, we do ask for those waivers. The same thing when we have people participating in other parks activities that are considered inherently risky. At Halpatioke, I think it's isn't there a extreme bike trail that folks use? And the same way, we have a release, so the county isn't sued. And I don't know whether you have training as well.
We need
Mr.
to,
Abate would know. We can.
we'll
bring
need
something
to
up
make
at
this an agenda item. I would request that this become back as an agenda item. We're not going to be able to solve it right now. And that concept, every playground is inherently dangerous. We have one in Jock Layton that's open to anybody, and kids want to climb up to the top of the swing set and jump off. We don't make those people, I don't know how you would work that out unless it's locked up all the time. This is definitely a conversation that we need to have. Commissioner Smith, you want to add now, or you want to wait for the item?
Just make sure you invite the RIO folks, because there's a long history with this and accountability and.
If
and
it's
they're-
appropriate in Rio, then it should
No,
stay there.
Yes, when it comes back.
Please have this come back as an agenda item. Thank you for bringing it up, Commissioner Heatherington. Okay, let's take our 10:30 break for closed captioning, and we'll be back at 20 after 11. It's 11:03. Okay, we are back from our closed captioning break. We will continue our January 24th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We are going to now take agenda items BC1 and BC2, BNC1 and BNC2. The first is Industrial Development Authority appointments. They'll be presented by Ms. Donna Gordon. Ms. Gordon, good morning. You are recognized.
Thank you. This is for the Industrial Development Authority. It's a 4-year term to begin February 10 of this year and end February 9 of 2027. Mr. Brian Powers received 4 votes.
Okay, sounds like a thing.
Move approval of Brian Powers.
Second.
Wow, 3 seconds, so like a sixth. We have a motion to accept Mr. Brian Powers, seconded by everyone else. Does that work for you, Leila? You can pick one. It was everybody else. For the Industrial Development Authority, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item is BNC number 2, Drug and Alcohol Abuse Awareness Committee appointments.
This is for the Drug and Alcohol Abuse Awareness Committee. The supplemental memo is indicating that Heather Roth be the Clerk of Courts representative and Lieutenant George McLean be the City of Stewart's representative. And you also voted for an at-large position, a private citizen, and Ms. Robin Huber received 4 votes.
Move
Okay.
approval of Heather Roth, Lieutenant George McLean, and Robin Hubner.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd for what she said, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Moving right along. Our next agenda item is Departmental Number 1, Office of Management and Budget items which require board approval, presented beautifully and professionally by Ms. Jennifer Manning. Ms. Manning, good morning. You are recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Manning, OMB Director. I have 5 items on the agenda this morning. The first item is permission to apply for the FY24 Indian River Lagoon Council grant, National Estuary Grant Program. And this is Category 4, which addresses the science and innovation. The funds will be used for long-term water quality monitoring of nutrients, environmental, and weather conditions. The grant award, if awarded, is $100,000. It requires a $100,000 match, which is programmed in the ecosystem operational budget. The second item is permission to apply. This is the sheriff is requesting permission to apply for the FY 2022 State Criminal Alien Assistant Grant, otherwise known as SCAP. This funds will be, the amount of the funds will be notified when it's awarded, and these funds are used to assist to offset the costs due to incarceration of undocumented criminal aliens held within the correctional facility. Item number 3, Human Services is requesting to convert a currently contracted position, juvenile case manager, to a full-time equivalent employee. This position will be funded through grants as well as court fees, which is a reoccurring funding source. The position works with all juveniles in various diversion programs, such as REACH, civil citation, juvenile diversion. Item number 4 is a request from Utilities Department. On March 2022, the board approved a proposal to transport recyclable material to St. Lucie County. And with that approval, there was also an FTE that was approved. Unfortunately, it was inadvertently left off of the budget for FY23, and we're requesting permission to add it to the budget. This position is funded through solid waste utilities.
May I stop you for a moment? Considering that it is Mr. Emerson's birthday, we will allow it. Happy birthday, sir.
Anything else you want?
I'll stop counting
A few years from now.
Okay, the final item, this is a request to approve 160,000 additional to do a restroom for the courthouse at the request of the clerk. We we added 100,000 in FY '22, and based on the cost and the ADA requirements, it's going to be another 160,000 more. So we're requesting that fund from the capital reserves.
Well, considering it is our county attorney's birthday as well, and this bathroom will be at the courthouse, I think it's only appropriate. Happy birthday, Ms. Woods.
Okay, and that.
Can't fly under the radar up here.
That concludes my presentation.
Is it your birthday?
No, soon.
That being,
Department 1.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd for approval of Departmental Number 1 as presented by Ms. Manning, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, new face, Departmental Number 2, not brand new face, but contracts that meet the threshold for board approval, $1 million or greater. There's 3 items, and it'll be presented by Ms. Tasha Sapp? Sapp.
Good
I
morning.
figured maybe it was the 2 Ps. I thought maybe it was a little fancier or something.
No, it's not. Tasha Sapp, Senior Purchasing Agent, filling in for Christy Brotherton. I have 3 items for your consideration this morning. Coral Gardens Neighborhood Restoration. Recommended action, move that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, FG Construction LLC, in the amount of $225.64. Move that the board adopt the amended CIP sheet for the Coral Gardens Neighborhood Restoration, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents with this request. Second, I have Indian Town Fairgrounds and High School Water and Forest Main Extension. Recommended action, move that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Felix Associates of Florida, Inc., in the amount of $2,358,822 even, and move that the board adopt the amended CIP sheet for the Indian Town Fairgrounds IRSC Charter High School off-site improvement projects, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request.
Move approval.
And lastly,
Oh,
sorry.
it's such a rookie mistake. It's crazy.
Lastly, I have the garbage removal from parks and county-operated facilities with a maximum not to exceed value of $2 million with a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. And recommended action, move that the board award the contract to AmeriSweeps, Inc., and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. And that concludes my item.
Now move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Excellent job. We'll make sure Ms. Brotherton realizes you did it really fantastic. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith for staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next agenda item is Departmental Number 5, a discussion of our 2023 priorities of the Board of County Commissioners. It'll be kicked off by our Administrator, Mr. Don Donaldson. Sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attached, you'll have the priorities from each of, that you submitted to each of us. The only item to really discuss is, on my review, there's the categories of, you have some items that relate to planning. We have several items that are capital projects that would either be for the environment or for citizen usage, like parks and others. Housing was reflected in there, business relations, and land acquisitions were the general categories that I saw. And land acquisition included both for in Palmar and for in Loxalucy type of operations and for SERP. I think they're all very related in terms of what you contacted before. And so I think all we have any discussion is if there's any priorities that you would like to look at first. Some of them, as you know, the growth management has already started on some of the planning initiatives. And the capital projects will be brought to you for the CIP discussion. So it's really an opportunity for you all to talk to each other about the priorities that you see and maybe explain in a little more detail if you feel the need to on the specific language that you stated in the agenda item. Thank you.
Excellent intro. Commissioner Smith.
After seeing others' lists that have grown in numbers, I would like to add a fifth one to my list. And it was actually a conversation we had last year, and I don't think we ever had an agenda item on it. It was about a tree incentive program that would be for historic champion level trees to be incentivized on a piece of property, whether it be a platted lot or an unplatted subdivision, that there would be some kind of, whether it be impact fee, credit given, or something that we come up with a value. And I think Harold, last year or the year before, had talked about that your association or something has a value, or there's a way to value trees in terms of their age, size.
There is an established by the Florida Arborist Society, whatever, ASA, yeah.
So maybe staff can get together with Harold and bring us back an agenda item sometime this year that would look at what kind of financial incentive can we give to, and what brought this up, there was a lot in my district that had this spectacular oak tree on it, and I got a call from a resident that said, gee, I hope this lot, when it's developed, and it was, there was a new home just built on it, they don't cut the tree down. Thankfully, they didn't, and they carved up one of the larger branches maybe, but they probably had to, but the tree did save and so on. But it would have been, I think, kind of cool if there was an incentive strategy to do that, so.
I have to admit, that has always been, and you know, we got kind of hamstrung by preemptions on the rest of that program, but that is something that I've been, and I got to admit, it comes and goes. You know, we get so busy and staff gets busy and it kind of falls off. But I'm glad you brought it up because I just added it to my list. And that it seems like it's not that hard that we incentivize somebody to save a historic tree that they may or may not recognize that is, and not necessarily a historic tree, but a champion tree. There's many different ways to define it, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a native tree. It's something that is we can develop an incentive program for. So I've just added that as number 6 on mine.
It's too late.
I did it. I
closed.
just did it.
The whole process is closed, denied. Anything else, Commissioner Smith? The original strategy was 3 items. Some of you have 6 or 7 items. When you come up with 29 items, then the staff, it just starts to become anything else. It's got to be 3 absolute home run items. But that being said, I am benevolent. Anybody else?
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead. I don't have a light yet, so there it is, Commissioner Jenkins.
let's make a deal here. I just wanted to give you an update. You know, I had unanimous support for the establishment of a countywide, eventually a countywide community land trust organization that would be, in theory, a public-private entity. So finally, after numerous friends and attorneys and everybody else trying to find a law firm that had some experience in this, we finally, and I interviewed this person with the CEO of the Banner Lake Club, as you know, is the stepping stone of this. We interviewed a firm and an individual that I was totally impressed you know, when you're talking to a lawyer, no objection, but it's not the most positive and/or
County attorneys are being excluded.
county attorney being, but this particular individual was totally jazzed and enthusiastic and informative and had enough staff in her firm that dealt with all the little intricate details that this person may not be. So anyway, so the Banner Lake Club board agreed to stroke the check to engage this firm. We then are going to be moving forward. So after a year and a half of discussion, and I'm going to use this as an airplane that George would appreciate, we've been sitting at the gate. Okay, so we have now pulled away from the gate and are headed to the taxiway. You know, and one of these days we'll get wheels up. But at least I'm very enthusiastic. And by the way, Sarah's team and myself and Banner Lake representative met, and so our firm, our team is going to work with this team, and because there's county interests that this team may not understand that need to be in the articles of incorporation. So anyway, so I'm very happy that that we're actually moving forward. So I just thought I would give that as a update. My number 2 thing was.
No, 1 second. Commissioner Smith would like to opine.
Okay, go for
Opine,
it.
see what I did there.
So, and just curiosity, is it your plan, their plan to craft like a model, I guess, if you will, that could be applicable to any district?
Yes. Okay. Yes. We have a situation where we have assets, public and privately owned, in Banner Lake, the absolute need on a very small scale at this point. So we have the opportunity to get it right, and then it can then expand out within however our discretion is, and expand. So it'd be a joint venture with not only Banner Lake Club, but, you know, eventually Habitat has a place, House of Hope. They bring a lot to the table for different things, and so I just really, we have an opportunity that I think it could come to fruition. Thank you. Yeah. The other thing that I just, now reading my thing, that the whole customer service thing that I've been talking about since I got elected. I want to say first and foremost, we have come a long day since the first day I stepped in this building with the help of my commission, and I get constantly, and I'm sure that we all do, of our clients that have to deal with the county, and I get complimented all the time on the professionalism, the helpfulness. If I've got a problem, I'm headed in the wrong direction, I get advice on exactly how to do this, that, and the other. That's wonderful, but I do think we've got a ways to go. There was one issue that I've talked about, but I've never really seen any results. We were talking about doing a customer survey. I've never seen, I hear it exists, but I've never seen any results of what those surveys are.
So we do have a customer survey program, and I can bring this back to you in terms of, and we've been working with actually the building department to consolidate it to a more uniform process. But and we've had a lot of results. I think they've been good. I think one of the things we're trying to do is expand the customer service to. It's often at the point of contact is where it is, to make it available so that it's not just at the department where you receive it, but you could do it online or remotely. So we do have that. Kim Levy's been working with staff on that, and I can give you an update on that.
Okay. I mean,
It's not been perfected. I think that's the short answer is. We do have results, and they're largely very positive, but I think we're looking for a better accessibility from our customers.
Well, I mean, the whole point of it is to identify some things that we may not recognize as not necessarily even problems, but issues or suggestions of how we can do better. I mean, we can always do better, no matter how good we're doing. So that is a tool that I would like to see. And with that, we pretty much, I think everybody else has the same priorities I do, so I'm done.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, my first priority is pretty self-explanatory, but I want to expand it substantially, and that is two major projects that I'm interested in working on this year. One is I'd like to do a sediment study of the muck that's outside Lake Okeechobee in the C-44. The basin right after the gates, in order to determine what kind of pollutants exist in that muck. And then I would like to dredge it. And then I would like to engage the Army Corps of Engineers, and they're agreeable with this too, to replace the gates and have the gates operational now. They open up, and all the crap polluted muck that's on the inside of Lake Okeechobee comes under and into the C-44. I want to change that to them going, the water coming, sluicing, spilling over the top. It would really, really solve an awful lot of our problems. It's been done elsewhere. I'm not reinventing the wheel. It would really improve water quality. And as you know, we've started getting discharges from Lake Okeechobee, or if we haven't started, we're soon to start getting discharges from Lake Okeechobee. So that's one. Another one is I would like to get the entire Indian River Lagoon, all 156 miles of it, designated as a national park. I don't know how to do it, but we can do it. It's going to take an awful lot of help. It's going to take a federal sponsor. I've talked to Congressman Mast about it. It's going to take Senate sponsors. It's going to take Department of Interior cooperation. It's going to take USDA cooperation. It's going to take state cooperation. But I firmly believe that if we get that designation, then it will provide additional protections to the Indian River Lagoon, and we've got to do more. The quality of the water and the lack of grasses and the health of the oysters is abysmal, and that's without releases for several years. So those are initiatives that I want to pursue. Infrastructure planning for Port Salerno. Ms. Gordon, can you put up my aerial?
Was that from you?
Yep. So, can you get the whole thing on? That's good enough. So, this is an aerial that I created with the help of some residents and my aide Sarah Filion, and it was made about a month ago, so it's already stale, and there are probably some new green parcels. But what you're looking is the blue parcels are right-of-way. You can see that some of it is FEC right-of-way. I asked for permission a month or so ago to pursue leasing FEC right-of-way for additional parking in Port Salerno because it's a problem. So you can see along Railway and Dixie Highway, that blue property is FEC right-of-way, and also somewhat south of Railway Avenue. The other blue parcels are county rights-of-way. The one that's farthest west on Salerno Road, that's the Head Start building, so that's not ours. But you see these alleys, these blue alleys, are county rights-of-way. And they provide drainage from the STA, which you can see in the lower left-hand corner, to the Manatee Pocket. They are unimproved, they're disastrous, they're overgrown, they're probably an attractive nuisance, but their potential to be utilized for a county amenity is marvelous. We could turn these into linear parks, or we could clean them out and have them be waterways with sidewalks on top. Something needs to be done with them, and the county owns them. So it's my hope that we will improve these properties to make them a wonderful amenity in downtown Port Salerno. And the green properties are all privately owned, and these properties have new owners within the last 2 or 3 years. All of these properties have new owners. There are some really ambitious plans for downtown Port Salerno. There are investors who are going to spend a whole lot of money redeveloping Port Salerno. And in order to help them along and to move them in the right direction, Port Salerno alone among all the CRAs has an historic development pattern of mixed use. All these places have residential and commercial all mixed together, and they always have, and they always will, if the investors if that's the best and highest use of their property. So I want to continue that development pattern, because right now, probably the most financially rewarding investments for these investors to make would be residential, period. And that would ruin downtown Port Salerno. So Martin County needs to make sure that there's enough parking in this historic part of Port Salerno, and that there are enough infrastructure improvements. We're putting water and sewer in there. We're making improvements on Salerno Road right now. We're putting in sidewalks. We're making some significant investments in public investments in Port Salerno, and we need to continue making these efforts in order to encourage the kind of investment that we want to see in the future, because this is going to be a game changer. And lastly, green building. We always had the reputation for being a leader in sustainability, and we need to continue doing that. We need to show the private sector how important it is to build sustainable infrastructure. And we have a couple new big projects that we're contemplating. One is the Public Works building, one is the medical clinic. We need to make sure that those buildings are sustainable and innovative and set an example for the private sector about why these are not just a good idea, but they're money-saving ideas. And those are my priorities. So for Port Salerno, it's parking, infrastructure improvements, yeah.
Got you.
Because as you can see, it's remarkable, the amount of investment that's being made there. And they're going to bulldoze everything. We need to make sure that they construct things that we want to see. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Smith?
It was a comment to Harold's, one of Harold's priorities, if you want to do that, or you want to come back. I mean, it was on the customer service thing, Harold. Is it customer service across the board? Is it so how the public sees us, or how our vendors, or both, or public? Because probably 15 years ago or something, for probably about a 5-year stretch, I think her name was Leap, Margaret Leap or something, from FAU. We used to hire her, and she would do every year a assessment of customer service and people's perspective on what we were doing. And I didn't know if that's where you wanted to go, or if it was something more or less or different. But those studies are probably still somewhere in the archives, just to see what was done back then. But it was a significant amount of outreach on the customer service side of how are we doing, what do we need to do better, where are we lacking, and that kind of stuff.
Well, it'd be interesting if we have data that we've collected recently to compare that to where we were when those studies were done. absolutely, yeah.
It's just a thought, if you didn't know we'd done it.
I did not know we did it.
Thank you.
Did not know.
President Quick.
Okay, I'll just review.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Yes, thank you. At the top of my list this year is, we had awful lot of conversation in the last couple months on the western and the rural lands. And that is certainly something high priority that we need to understand how and what we're going to plan for the future, what we can influence and what we can't. So I know that's going to be a separate item that will come back so that we can shape how that discussion and that planning is going to go. But that is at the top of my priority list this year. And a couple things.
Donna, can you move it up to Commissioner Heatherington's? Thank you.
I understand that you're supposed to have only a couple, but when they get done, then they can move off the list. So my next one is El Camino Trail, and we've been working on that in Golden Gate. It is going out to bid, but I think that's a project that's been, it's very important to the community, and it's something that I just want to keep the presence and the pressure on so that project gets completed. Certainly, I think several of us had land acquisition and particularly focused in the Indian River Lagoon. I like the idea of the dredging, the muck. I think Banana River had a huge project up there, but I do like that, that idea of Commissioner Hurd's. And then fourth, I think Martin County has and is a leader in our septic to sewer conversion program. And we've presented at Indian River Lagoon Council. Martin County just presented at our, it's no longer called a tri-county meeting. Now it's all 4 counties. Quad county meeting. And again, we're a leader in the septic to sewer conversion, but I see other neighboring counties are really wanting to model our plan. We had a project in Old Palm City that just came in $10 million over budget. We're asking for an appropriations request and some funding. But I see as other areas start to prioritize it, we're going to really have to hone in on our processes and make sure that we have every advantage possible. And I think some of that overbidding, of course, that's supply chain and all kinds of things, has to do with there's a limited amount of contractors, and do we need to look at how we can expand that contractor pool? So I think that's just something we need to continue to look at. And then, of course, I put boat ramps on there because they're underway, but they're a high priority, particularly Sanskrit, and looking very much forward to seeing that to completion this year. And I inadvertently took one off, and that is continuing. There's some private groups that are working on an education, aviation, recreation space, and I will add that back in there because I inadvertently took it off, and that is right on Monterey. So
The window is closed.
that completes my priorities.
Thank you. Donna, can you scroll to mine?
Four.
You have a lot of bullet points in there. Oh, you have sub-points.
That's all part of the same thing. Bundling, that's right. Remember the days of bundling. District 5, Housing Initiative. I don't know if you were aware or not, but housing, affordable housing, essential housing is really near and dear at every level, whether it is people that are in our workforce, people that are young people that grew up here and want to either return or remain, senior citizens that maybe no longer necessarily need to have their 3 or 4 bedroom homes, but don't have anywhere else to go, especially, excuse me, if they're not needing to go to an assisted living facility. I think that point's clear. District 5 infrastructure is still out in Palm City Farms. We had initiated a very large study and surveying of drainage issues that are all completely interconnected. So if we address them and solve them in Palm City Farms, they work their way through Canopy Creek, under the Turnpike in 95, into Martin Downs, and then into the Lighthouse Point neighborhoods all the way to the river. I believe as Commissioner Jenkins' district continues to grow and grow, some of this issue will now be his issue, not just District 5 anymore. the broadband, digital divide, the connectivity issues. There is a large, dark portion of internet and broadband access in Martin County. Most people take broadband as just another entity like electricity and water and sewer and things like that. But there are many residents in Martin County that do not have either legitimate access and speed or have none. I know that the FAC, the Florida Association of Counties, has really taken that on, especially in, obviously, their rural counties. But even though we're not really classified as, some of our most rural counties, we do have areas in the county that have the same issues that the most remote rural counties of Florida have. We'll continue to work on that. Mr. Stokes has been my leader and champion of that, and I don't plan on letting up any of the pressure I put on him. He's got broad shoulders, he can handle it. And then number 4, begin the construction of septic to sewer conversion projects. As Commissioner Hetherington just mentioned, there are a lot of people. We have done remarkably well in this area. I know we were addressing certain areas of the county before Old Palm City and Palm City, but just as we were getting ready to kick it off, all of the issues of supply chain and construction companies and quiet quitting and the rest of it post-pandemic have really wreaked havoc on this, but the need and the desire have not gone away. I've worked with our team to discuss the possibility of adding in additional homes further south down Map Road. The neighborhoods are a little more upscale, however, they are still on the river, so their environmental impact is as dramatic as anywhere else. And I know that I've met with a couple of different neighborhoods that are interested in doing as public-private partnerships, putting in additional and a decent amount of their own funds, whether it's the HOA or individual homeowners, to participate. So maybe there'll be some economies in scale if we could lure some contractors to come if the number of conversions were larger. And with that, I will yield my remainder of my time to Commissioner Smith. Anything else, Commissioner Smith? Anything else, Mr. Donaldson? To wrap it, we're getting close to our cutoff, so keep it brief.
No, I will keep it brief. It's just in the one item, there's a number of you have talked about land acquisition, and I think there's an easy we could do in terms of continuing to support those efforts. However, there is the concept, and it's just to throw it out there, and as we move forward, if we're looking at sales tax in the future, we're a year and a half or so away from the next time we can ask for that. We will need some sort of private partner in that, and certainly how we participate in that. So it's just really a shout out to you all, and that we are looking for that partnership. We don't have it yet. That if we're going to pursue that particular funding source, that's something that we probably in the next 4 months or so, we really should have that nailed down. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. To that issue, I'd say I've had some negative feedback from folks that said about land acquisition that they don't completely understand it. But what I said to them was that beyond it becoming, it's obviously environmentally sensitive and important lands that we're looking to preserve, land acquisition at the county level can also mean that if you want to control and/or eliminate future development in certain categories, if the county, or as Commissioner Jenkins was talking about, public-private partnerships, purchase those lands, they come off the developmental drawing board. So there is another advantage if people don't see the conservation and the ecological advantages of the county doing some of these purchases, but they are concerned about development or the concept of overdevelopment in the county purchasing some of these large still remaining parcels, stop that from happening as well. We've been successful, and when I say we, it was more Commissioner Hurd and Commissioner Smith back prior to my arrival that the county was really in. They had the dollars from a half a cent sales tax issue. that really put some acreage, thousands of acres, and took it off the ability to be developed. So that's another way of looking at this. That being said, anything else with this item? I appreciate everyone's input. I think it gives staff better understanding of where we are. It lets the public see what our focus is. We'll move to 5:05 public comment at 12:03. I currently only have one. It's from Miss Coletta Scott. Welcome. We're glad you are visiting. You are with an illustrious group. Why don't you tell us who you are?
Good morning, thank you, or afternoon now.
Yeah.
I'm Kalita Scott with the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program. Hi, Commissioner. I just wanted to come and introduce myself and let you know that we have some presence down here in the Southern Lagoon. I think it's time, right? They've kind of been up in Brevard doing their thing, but now I'm based in Fort Pierce. So I take care of St. Lucie and Martin counties. I'm so excited to hear. I've been to a lot of government meetings and I've not heard environment and ecological so much. So I'm really excited to work with the organizations in Martin County that are interested in getting some funding or getting some partnership and support from our team. So I don't have any cards just yet, but I've met a couple of team members and I think we may be working on getting me some space upstairs soon. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm here. And if there's any contacts that you want to send my way, please do so.
Thank you. Stay right there, please. Commissioner Smith.
Great news. Sometimes the southern portion of the lagoon gets forgotten.
Yes.
And just a little nick in that, not your doing, but in the calendar there this year, I don't think there was a single photo south of Indian River, just for perspective.
Thank you for that comment.
You're welcome.
I haven't said it out loud to my team yet, but that's like my personal mission to get some Southern Lagoon photos. It's beautiful in Fort Pierce and in Martin County. I have, if anybody follows us on social media, I suggest we're trying to get some more likes and things, but we just started following Visit Martin. So those type of things, those type of connections and community engagement are really important so that we can support each other in our mission. So, gotcha.
Commissioner Hetherington.
One, I just want to say welcome. I'm so glad that you came to introduce yourself today. And just to my fellow board members, the Indian River Lagoon Council Board now has three different community outreach professionals, and we're happy to have you in our region, and there's two other to the north of us. So with an emphasis the board has put on the community outreach in all of the divisions, and we'll keep in mind, too, to have some more photos. And Narissa would be a great resource for those.
It's just funny, when I was on the board for years, one of my pet peeves was that it was very Brevard North focus, and the southern portion got not so much focus. So we tried to fix that over the years. And, you know, Commissioner Hurd brought up one of her priorities. I don't know if you were here for that, but it would be interesting to bring up that concept to the NEP to get feedback from them on their support for that and facilitating that discussion. So, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you all.
Okay, that is our only request to speak form. We'll come back, and I apologize, we did not have commissioner comments at the beginning of the meeting. We jumped right into it. So we will kick off with you, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hetherington.
I'm all set.
Commissioner Jenkins.
I have a couple things. One, if I can get Sarah's attention, the property discussion, Eastern Flowway, should I bring that up now or when we're better prepared for the conversation? It just seemed to me that if we had some folks see that we have unanimous support for that acquisition, it might help move things further along.
I don't see any problem in talking about it. I don't think we have a draft.
They're working on it.
But we're working on it. Yeah. So, sure.
So I've been working with Mike Eusted and John and the whole ECO team working on the study of the Eastern Flowway in and that's more Loxahatchee oriented than obviously here. So Tetra Tech is doing this huge study that goes all the way from Poinciana Gardens down south to Bridge Road through the Atlantic Ridge property, Medalist and MacArthur, all the way to Bridge Road. It's now It's now been expanded by the financial help of the Pine School to actually include Banner Lake, the actual body of water itself, and then how that water gets from that area down to down into the state park and to restore that historic flowway. I heard the number of like 100-acre swamp, cypress swamp that during our 100 inches of rain was dry. That is where all this water used to go. So this study is throwing out some things that we need to do. One is the absolute acquisition of a relatively small piece of property that is encumbered by decades of going generation to generation without going to probate. The number was thrown out, there's 96 heirs on the title. So I've got a local attorney has been asked by the family to clear that title. The county is trying to work as best we can appropriately to do that. We're trying to, that has to go before a judge that would designate a person that would speak and could sign on the family's behalf. So we're trying to give as much support to this local attorney to be able to go through that process, which I don't think we need to go into the details of. But I just wanted to show that we have, this is absolutely important for the success of restoring this natural flowway, is this small piece of property. So I just wanted to bring it up to get kind of a unanimous head nod that would give some people more confidence to move forward. A lot of this work right now is being done pro bono. We did get we did get a estimate on the value of the property that doesn't even come close to helping clear the title. So obviously, it's very important and very valuable to the county and our project. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up to, I know I'm kind of rambling now, but anyway, I've done the best I can. So here we are.
The pot would like to speak to the kettle.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Smith.
A few thoughts. You have my 100% support. Second, why don't you have John Mayle or whoever come and give us each a briefing or an understanding so we know exactly what's involved. And 110% support with Sarah helping getting the thing done.
Good.
The property.
Me too.
All right, there we go.
So everybody except, there
I
it
think
is.
that's what I was looking for.
Thank you. Is that it?
And that's all I was looking for. And yes, when we get further along, it's definitely going to be appropriate for John to do a whole thing for us. Second thing, okay.
I just wanted to add that the legal department, along with property management and ecosystems, is sending out communications and attempting, just so the board knows, and I'm happy to copy you with, of course, any of the communications, to try to give the family members and the local attorney confidence that we're proceeding in good faith and we're trying to do whatever it takes to allow the county to take control of that piece of property.
Right. The other issue I wanted to talk about, and too bad we don't have an audience to talk about it, is I engaged with the Humane Society. As most of you know, I lost my best friend in October, and I thought it was time that it was that I wanted a new best friend. So I asked Frank to look out. Border Collies are my thing, and he came up with a Border Collie that I went and visited. So I went through the whole experience of the Humane Society. And some of the comments that we've had over some other issues about that, I can honestly say are as far from being relevant than anything. The whole idea that there's only bulldogs out there. You know, it seems like any dog that has a square head is a bulldog. That's absolutely untrue. They had many dogs out there. How they do that, the whole thing, visiting the dog, it's professional. The staff was outstanding. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. I have to feel guilty because this Border Collie must have had a little German Shepherd in it that I did not understand the scale of how large that dog was. We're motorhomers, and it just wouldn't work. But I tell you, I was heartbroken leaving there because he was just the sweetest dog, snuggly dog, but he's just too big. I couldn't do anything, and I walk away, and I said, this is just I said, but there is one thing I can do. I have a little bit of a bully pulpit, and I'm here to say that we have one of the most professional operations going on in Martin County you could ask for, and anybody that should go out and visit, if nothing else. It's amazing. So with that, here, I'm done.
Please continue.
No, I'm done.
Seriously.
Yeah, I've used way up all my words.
Yes, you have. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah. The Port Salerno CRA put out an RFP last year for affordable housing. It's a small project, 4 houses on county-owned property. A selection committee selected the top bidder, and they never could. They couldn't get together on a price, and they couldn't do the project. So it lapsed, and there was another qualified bidder, and they're still very interested in the project. So the RFP has expired, and in order to we need to do a new RFP for this affordable housing. So I'd just like your permission to do a new RFP for the Port Salerno affordable housing project.
Or in the future, this could be a CLT project, too.
I will allow it.
Good. Done. That's it.
That's it? I have a couple. I'm going to start off with 2 sort of serious ones and then end with, what?
Okay.
Something else? Would you like to go first?
No, go ahead. When you finish.
2 serious ones and then a positive note. I'd like to offer my condolences and my heartfelt concern to our friend Jeff Sabin, who had a tragic loss in his family. Heartbreaking, genuinely heartbreaking. Also, I think all of us are aware that, I know it happens all the time, but it seems to be happening more frequently and more devastatingly, the traffic accidents, the fatal traffic accidents that we've had on US 1 and now elsewhere. We're not going to be able to, as hard as we try, to convince people to slow down, to be a little more courteous and cautious. That probably is just going to happen. So my new strategy now is to warn and remind the rest of us that are on the road, be cautious. If you are the first car at an intersection and the light is red and you're the first car and the light turns green, be very cautious pulling out with the green light. I've watched, Indian Street and Canner when I'm getting ready to come over the Veterans Memorial Bridge, Monterey and Canner, Monterey and US 1, cars without any disregard completely going through.
That's the worst. Those are the 2 worst intersections for that.
Completely red light. The light is full red, and cars just, not even thinking about it, just blasting right through. So it doesn't make a difference if it's somebody else's fault, if you're the other car. Especially if you're the other car that's getting hit, the likelihood of you becoming a fatality is much greater. So that's first. So please be more cautious. I know the snowbirds are here and everyone from out of town and the visitors, but it just everywhere, people are driving like lunatics, so all you can do is to be more cautious. When you're making a left turn, I'm still not a proponent of the blinking yellow left turn light. I have had conversations with our traffic department. They have tried very hard to convince me that it's a legitimate strategy. I just find that if I'm waiting to make a left and there's a car opposite me trying to make a left, I can't see past that car. People stack up behind you. They start beeping their horn. It makes you a little anxious, like you're supposed to make the left. On High Meadow, making the left onto Martin Highway, it's literally like roulette to just pull out in front because you can't tell if other cars are coming. And then that would be my fault for making a left in front of, they have the right of way, but they're coming really fast. So they might have been way down the intersection when I made the commitment to turn, and all of a sudden they're right there. So that's the first problem. And then on a higher note, a happier note, our Martin County Fire Rescue hazmat team went up to compete in a statewide competition in Daytona, and they finished first. And I know that it's a very technical, hazmat competition. I saw some pictures on social media, is probably very challenging physically, but I believe that there was some written and some educational knowledge portion of that as well. I don't know if they've ever competed before. I don't think they have, but at a statewide level, we were #1. So congratulations to all of them. And just a personal note, since the last time we were here, our colleague Commissioner Hetherington celebrated a birthday, 27 years old, remarkable. And so I just wanted to.
And holding.
And I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday and a healthy 2023.
Thank you.
Mr. Donaldson.
Oh, I have one more.
Oh,
One item.
the birthday girl would like to
I have,
use up her goodwill.
and then I'll cede my time. I have a vacancy on the PRAB board. My appointee moved on over to the LPA, so I've had a vacancy for the last 2 months and would like to appoint Casey Cass for the remainder of the PRAB term.
Okay? Do we have to do anything about that, like make a motion and do a thing? Okay?
I will move that Casey Cass be appointed to the PRAB board.
Second.
Okay. Excellent choice. A great member of our community, very generous and involved, so good. We have a motion by Commissioner Hetherington to add Casey Cass as her appointee to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Smith absent.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay. Mr. Donaldson.
I have nothing for you today, thank you.
Miss Woods, happy birthday again to you. That's it? Nothing? Layla, anything? Okay. With that, our next commission meeting is February 7th. We will see you then.